Chapter 1589. The Lu family fort was very close to the Dragon God Valley. They arrived shortly after taking the flying shuttle. As they approached the Dragon God Valley, the group got off the flying shuttle and stepped into the Dragon God Valley, heading towards the Cloud Dragon Valley. Xiang Xiang, are you cold? Lu Ming turned to look at Xiang Xiang. The little girl's face was red from the cold. I'm not cold. Xiang Xiang shook her head. A layer of green light emanated from her body to block the cold air outside. Below them, the snowy mountain passed by. Soon, they arrived at the Cloud Dragon Valley. Ming-er, come to my cave abode. Lu Ming and the rest had just stepped into the Cloud Dragon Valley when the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's voice rang in Lu Ming's ears. With the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's cultivation, his spiritual consciousness could cover the entire Cloud Dragon Valley. It was not difficult for him to know that they had returned. Senior brother, senior sister, Master is looking for me. I'll go to Master's cave abode first. Lu Ming said, All right, junior brother, go ahead. Let's go back to the cave abode first. Xuanning said. Lu Ming nodded and led Xiang Xiang deeper into the Cloud Dragon Valley. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's cave abode. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master was sitting on a futon in the cave abode. Disciple Lu Ming greets Master. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed to the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Grand Disciple Xiang Xiang greets Grand Master. Xiang Xiang was very obedient. When she saw Lu Ming bowing, she hurriedly bowed as well. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master was slightly taken aback. He looked at Xiang Xiang and asked, Ming-er, is this your disciple? Yes, this is the disciple I took in a year ago. I'll need Master's guidance in the future. Lu Ming said. The Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley sized up Xiang Xiang carefully. Then his eyes flickered and he revealed a look of surprise. Following which, the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley seemed to have a glint in his eyes as he carefully stared at Xiang Xiang. The more he looked at her, the stronger the glint in his eyes became. Finally, a look of shock flashed across his face. This disciple of yours is incredible, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master exclaimed. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He knew that the Cloud Dragon Valley Master had noticed that Xiang Xiang was extraordinary. Little girl, come here and let your Grandmaster take a good look. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said gently. Yes, Grandmaster. Xiang Xiang obediently walked over to the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's side. Ha ha ha, what a sensible little girl. Little girl, your master might not have that much time to guide you. In the future, Grandmaster will guide you in your cultivation. Yun Longu stroked Xiang Xiang's head and laughed. Thank you, Master. Lu Ming was overjoyed. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master's cultivation level was much higher than his. It was unfathomable. If he were to guide Xiang Xiang, she would be much stronger than if he were to guide her. Ming, after being outside for a year, how is the removal of the killing intent in the depths of your soul? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master's tone changed. It has been completely removed. Lu Ming nodded. That's good. Ming, let me tell you a piece of bad news. A few days ago, I received news that the divine son of the Sky Divinity Sect has broken through to the sacred realm. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said with a solemn expression. The divine son has broken through to the sacred realm. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. Ming, there is still 1.5 years until the next treasure sorting meeting. In this 1.5 years, even if you cultivate with all your might, it will be difficult for you to catch up to the divine son. Therefore, I will send you to a place where you might have a chance to fight. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Master, where is it? Lu Ming asked curiously. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master had said a year ago that he would send him to a place and asked him to return after a year. Lu Ming had always been very curious. That place is called the 100-Tribe Battlefield. It is an extremely dangerous place, but also a place filled with endless opportunities. Only by going there will you have a chance to fight with the Divine Sun in the next treasure sorting meeting. As for the specific situation, I will tell you when we arrive at the place of departure. All right, bring Xiang Xiang out and arrange a place for Xiang Xiang to stay. Bring her to familiarize herself with the Cloud Dragon Valley. We will depart in 3 days, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Lu Ming nodded and bade farewell to the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. He then left the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's cave dwelling with Xiang Xiang. After that, Lu Ming picked a cave dwelling near his cave dwelling for Xiang Xiang to stay in. The Cloud Dragon Valley was extremely huge, and there were many cave dwellings. However, there were only slightly more than 100 people, so most of the cave dwellings were empty. Xiang Xiang, you can ask me if you have any questions about your cultivation during this period of time. Lu Ming said to Xiang Xiang. Yes, Master. I do have some questions. Xiang Xiang nodded and began to ask all the questions she had during this period of time. Lu Ming patiently answered Xiang Xiang one by one. Half a day later, Xiang Xiang returned to the cave dwelling to cultivate in satisfaction. Lu Ming appeared in the mountain river diagram. Ming Lian's second body sat on a mountain peak in the mountain river diagram. A stone plate floated above his head and emitted a vast and terrifying aura. This stone plate was the Taiji stone plate that he had obtained from the Tianfeng Plains. During this period of time, Ming Lian's second body had been studying it. In the end, he concluded that it should be a formation plate, an extremely terrifying formation plate. With the help of this formation plate, Ming Lian's second body had consecutively lit 2 spirit lamps in a short period of time. Now, Ming Lian's second body had already lit 8 spirit lamps. Over the past year, his second body had been cultivating and had made great progress. With his second body's current cultivation, he could communicate with the precepts through inscriptions and try to use the power of the precepts to become a sage-to-be. However, Lu Ming would not do so now. 8 spirit lamps were too few. He needed to light 10 spirit lamps before he could consider becoming a sage-to-be. Lu Ming called this formation plate the Taiji formation plate. Buzz! With a thought, golden spirit fire spread out from between Ming Lian's second body's eyebrows and poured into the Taiji formation plate. Suddenly, the Taiji formation plate shone and a Taiji yin-yang diagram appeared, emitting a terrifying pressure. The Taiji yin-yang diagram seemed to contain terrifying killing and sealing power. It was highly likely that it was an imperial weapon, which was on the same level as the Phoenix ancient mirror. With Ming Lian's second body's cultivation, it was difficult for him to unleash 1/10,000th of the Taiji formation plate's power. Even so, Lu Ming felt that Ming Lian's second body could easily kill a 9th-level martial royal or even an ordinary sage-to-be by controlling the Taiji formation plate. Lu Ming's face revealed a satisfied smile. He had gained a lot in the Tianfeng Plains this time. Just this Taiji formation plate alone was a priceless treasure. It had greatly increased Lu Ming's combat strength. Ming Lian's second body could become Lu Ming's strongest trump card. After looking at it for a while, Lu Ming's main body left the mountain river diagram and closed his eyes to cultivate. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming told Xiang Xiang to stay in the Cloud Dragon Valley and went to the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's cave again. Ming, I'll take you to Cloud Emperor Mountain first. If you want to go to the 100-Tribe Battlefield, you must go through Cloud Emperor Mountain. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master explained. Cloud Emperor Mountain? Lu Ming was confused as he had never heard of such a place in the Tsang continent. Cloud Emperor Mountain is not located in the Tsang continent, but in another continent close to the Tsang continent called Cloud Continent. Cloud Emperor Mountain is the strongest force in Cloud Continent and has a martial monarch expert. Chapter 1590. an Emperor-class force. Lu Ming's heart trembled. An Emperor-class force had a great emperor overseeing it. It was more powerful than any sect in Song State, and even more powerful than all the sects in Song State combined. Having a great emperor overseeing it and not overseeing it were two completely different things. However, the books that Lu Ming had read previously only introduced Song State. There was very little information outside of Song State. Yuan continent is vast and boundless. Every Emperor-class expert can occupy a territory and establish a force. That territory is a state, and it is called by the name of the Great Emperor. The Great Emperor of Cloud Emperor Mountain is called Cloud Emperor. Therefore, the territory that Cloud Emperor is in is called Cloud State. Song State originated from Emperor Song. If a new Great Emperor appears in Song State in the future, the name might change. Cloud Dragon Valley Master explained. A great emperor can establish a state. Lu Ming couldn't help but yearn for it. Song State was so vast, but it was only the territory that Emperor Song occupied. Master, how many states are there in Yuan continent? Lu Ming asked curiously. Cloud Dragon Valley Master shook his head and said, Yuan continent is too vast and there are countless states. I don't know either. Countless states? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Each state represented a great emperor. Could there be that many great emperors in Yuan continent? Ming, I have a map here. It shows some of the territories near Song State. Take a good look on the way. A jade talisman appeared in Cloud Dragon Valley Master's hand, and he passed it to Lu Ming. Then he waved his hand and brought Lu Ming to the sky outside Divine Dragon Valley. Then he waved his hand and a flying shuttle appeared in the sky. The flying shuttle was purple gold in color. It had a smooth curve and there were mysterious patterns carved on it. It looked very beautiful. At first glance, one could tell that it was much more advanced than the flying shuttle that Lu Ming had. Ming, come on up. Cloud Dragon Valley Master stepped into the flying shuttle and Lu Ming followed behind. Swoosh! Cloud Dragon Valley Master controlled the flying shuttle and it turned into a ray of light and disappeared. So fast! Lu Ming looked out through the crystal glass. The mountains and rivers below passed by in the blink of an eye at an incredible speed. It was at least dozens of times faster than his sky-piercing shuttle. This was definitely a top-notch flying shuttle. Lu Ming observed for a while before sitting down with his legs crossed. He then took out the jade talisman that Valley Master Yunlong had given him. With a sweep of his spiritual sense, a map was projected into Lu Ming's mind. This map was divided into different regions, and each region was a large state. There were a total of dozens of large states, and they were all states near the Tsang State. The Tsang Prefecture was in the southeast of the map, close to the boundless ocean. The Cloud Prefecture, where the Cloud Emperor Mountain was located, was in the northwest of the Tsang Prefecture, close to the Tsang Prefecture. That's Emperor District's D family. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. In the north of the Azure Prefecture, there was another prefecture called the Emperor Prefecture. It was stated that the Emperor Prefecture was under the control of the D clan. Could it be Di? Di Xian's family, the D family, actually has a great emperor. Lu Ming frowned slightly. I once injured Di Xian in the divine wilderness continent. I'm afraid he won't let it go so easily. I have to find a chance to get rid of him in the future to prevent future troubles. Lu Ming thought to himself. Then Lu Ming imprinted the map in his mind and quietly cultivated. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master's sky-piercing shuttle was too fast. In just 2 days they had crossed the entire Tsang State, entered the Cloud State, and arrived at a vast mountain. Here, the two got off the sky-piercing shuttle. What a majestic mountain! Looking at the mountain in front of him, Lu Ming couldn't help but exclaim. The Tsang Mountains were already majestic, but there was still a big gap between them and the mountain in front of him. So this is the Cloud Emperor Mountain? Looking at the mountain from afar, Lu Ming could feel an imperious aura being emitted from the Cloud Emperor Mountain. It was as if the aura was standing at the peak of the world, causing everyone to bow down and worship it. This was the imperiousness of a martial monarch. There was a martial monarch hibernating in the mountain. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master took out a sound-conducting jade talisman and transmitted a message. Not long after, an old man in a white robe arrived from the Cloud Emperor Mountain. "Brother Yin, why are you so free today to visit my Cloud Emperor Mountain?" The old man in the white robe said with a smile, "It's nothing much. I'm just here to send my disciple to the 100-tribe battlefield and visit your old friend." The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said, "Haha, you're not here to visit me. You're here to send your disciple to the 100-tribe battlefield." The old man in the white robe burst out laughing as he glanced at Lu Ming and said, "Brother Yin, your disciple's cultivation is only at the peak 6th layer martial dominator realm. Isn't it a bit too low for him to enter the 100-tribe battlefield? The 100-tribe battlefield is filled with danger." "It's fine. The danger is the best way to train him," the Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. "All right, come with me. The Cloud Emperor Mountain is going to arrange for a group of young geniuses to enter the 100-tribe battlefield to train themselves. You can go together and take care of each other," the old man in the white robe said. He then led Lu Ming and the Cloud Dragon Valley Master into the Cloud Emperor Mountain and arranged a residence for them to stay in. "Brother Yin, stay here for 2 days. I'll bring this young man to the 100-tribe battlefield in 2 days' time." After saying this, the old man in the white robe left. "Ming, you must be curious about what kind of place the 100-tribe battlefield is, right?" At that instant, the Cloud Space Valley Master glanced at Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded his head. He was indeed curious about it. Legend has it that in ancient times the 100-tribe war took place in that area. That war caused the heavens to collapse and the earth to crack. It was incomparably tragic. Legend has it that many Emperor-level experts died. That was the 100-tribe battlefield. Because too many experts died in the 100-tribe battlefield, especially Emperor-level experts, the laws of heaven and earth in that area were messed up. Since the Saint Realm experts had comprehended the laws of heaven and earth, they could not enter at all. Once they entered, they would be affected by the chaotic laws of heaven and earth, causing their own laws to be disrupted. Once a Saint Realm expert entered, his laws would be disrupted and he would die of madness. In the lightest case, his cultivation would be crippled. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master explained. "It's that terrifying?" Lu Ming was shocked. "That's right. Therefore, experts above the Saint Realm do not dare to enter the 100-tribe battlefield. Only those below the Saint Realm can enter. As for the half-sages, some have comprehended the laws of heaven and earth, but they are not strong enough, so they can also enter. Moreover, there are too many experts who participated in the 100-tribe battlefield, and too many experts have died. That territory is filled with countless treasures, and it is simply a huge treasure trove. Many Emperor-level forces will send experts in, and over time, it has evolved into a training ground for prodigies. Today, it has become the top choice for the various Emperor-level forces prodigies to train. Many exceptional prodigies from Emperor-level forces enter to train themselves in life and death situations, seeking breakthroughs. Therefore, it is a place where opportunities and dangers coexist. Because many prodigies enter to train themselves, there is no need for a reason to make a move there. As long as someone feels that you are worthy of training, they will make a move on you. Chapter 1591. Why wouldn't I dare? That's exactly what I want. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation and a strong desire to battle. The 100-race battlefield was actually a training ground for the various Emperor-level factions. How many geniuses would gather there? Lu Ming felt the blood in his body start to boil. Only then would it be interesting to clash with other geniuses and force Lu Ming to advance quickly. "Ming, I was right about you. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master smiled, but in the next moment his smile disappeared and his face turned serious. Cultivators, especially geniuses, are often able to unlock their potential and break through their shackles in the face of death. Therefore, anyone who dares to enter the 100-race battlefield is a genius among geniuses. Furthermore, they are mentally tough and have terrifying battle abilities. Because ordinary people don't dare to enter the 100-race battlefield. Life and death battles are too common. Therefore, you must be careful and not let your guard down. I understand. Lu Ming nodded. I have an introduction to the 100-race battlefield here. Take a look. It will be of some help to you. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master took out a jade talisman and handed it to Lu Ming. Then the two returned to their rooms. Lu Ming took out the jade talisman and read it. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. 2 days later, the white-robed elder came to the courtyard. Little guy, come with me. The white-robed elder smiled. Master, I'll take my leave. Lu Ming cupped his fists at the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Go, I believe in you. You will definitely be able to defeat a strong opponent in the next treasure sorting meeting. At that time, you will be able to look down on the younger generation of the Tsang state, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Haha, Brother Yin, you have a lot of confidence in your disciple. The white-robed elder smiled and waved his hand. A gush of energy shrouded Lu Ming, and he soared into the sky with Lu Ming. After a while, the white-robed elder brought Lu Ming to a canyon. In the canyon, there was a huge altar with inscriptions carved all around. Teleportation altar. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that this was a teleportation altar. This was his first time seeing a teleportation altar in the Yuan continent. The Yuanlu space was too stable. If one wanted to set up a teleportation altar to teleport across regions, the price would be very high. The amount of resources required would also be shocking. In the Divine Dragon Valley, there were only teleportation altars that led to the sea. There weren't any teleportation altars that led to the other regions of the Yuan continent. Perhaps only imperial forces had them. Beside the altar, there were 4 young men, 1 woman, and 3 men. The woman was tall and slender. She wore silver armor, but it still couldn't hide her fiery figure. She looked valiant and cool. The other 3 young men were wearing white robes with clouds embroidered on them. When the white-robed old man arrived with Lu Ming, the 4 young men looked at Lu Ming curiously. Let me introduce him to you. His name is Lu Ming. He will be going to the 100-tribe battlefield with you. The white-robed old man gave a simple introduction. Lu Ming? That's an unfamiliar name. Why haven't I heard of it before? One of the young men was puzzled. He had dark green hair and looked very conspicuous. He's not from Cloud Emperor Mountain. He's from Tsangzhou. The white-robed old man introduced. Tsangzhou. When the green-haired young man heard that Lu Ming was from Tsangzhou, his eyes were filled with disdain. He looked at Lu Ming and said, You're only a rank 6 martial royal. How dare you enter the 100-tribe battlefield? You're courting death. Lu Ming frowned and said, I'll be careful in the 100-tribe battlefield. Careful? Are you trying to rely on us? Let me tell you, if you encounter danger in the 100-tribe battlefield, we won't save you. The green-haired young man sneered, and his eyes were filled with disdain. I'll be responsible for my own life. If I encounter danger and get killed, it's because I'm not skilled enough. Lu Ming's voice turned cold. The tone of the green-haired young man had displeased him. Seeing that Lu Ming dared to speak to him with a cold expression, the green-haired young man harumphed as his eyes flickered and said, Trash from Tsangzhou, let's see how you'll die. Yunkai, that's enough, that's enough. At this moment, the lady in silver armor scolded. The green-haired young man seemed to be afraid of the lady in silver armor. He chuckled coldly and did not say anything else. Lu Ming, I'm Yunqi. The lady in silver armor introduced herself. Nice to meet you. Lu Ming nodded. Lu Ming, don't mind Yun Kai's words. Since you're going to the 100-tribe battlefield with us, we'll take care of each other when the time comes, Yunqi said. In other words, if they were to encounter danger, they would take care of Lu Ming as long as it was within their capabilities. These geniuses from monarch factions had a sense of superiority when facing those who were not from monarch factions. Although Yunqi was amiable, she still had a faint sense of superiority. Lu Ming smiled slightly and did not comment, nor did he explain. Lu Ming, these two are called Yunfeng and Yunk. Then Yunqi introduced the other two young men to Lu Ming. The other two young men nodded slightly at Lu Ming. All right, now that you all know each other, let's go, the white-robed old man said. Everyone nodded and stepped onto the teleportation altar one after another. The white-robed old man waved his hand, and the altar began to glow. A spatial door was formed, and Lu Ming and the other four stepped in one after another. Heaven and earth spun, and Lu Ming felt his vision darken. What a strong spatial rotational force! A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. The more stable the space was, the stronger the rotational force during spatial teleportation. The next moment, the rotational force disappeared, and Lu Ming found himself on a huge platform. The platform should be on a mountain peak. Looking into the distance, what came into view was a boundless, hilly area. The 100-tribe battlefield is up ahead. We are now outside the 100-tribe battlefield, Yunqi said. Lu Ming nodded. He had read the introduction of the 100-tribe battlefield that the Cloud Dragon Valley Master had given him. Any monarch faction that wanted to enter the 100-tribe battlefield could only teleport outside the 100-tribe battlefield. Teleportation arrays could not be built inside the 100-tribe battlefield, as the laws were too chaotic. Let's go, Yunqi said and led the way. This team was led by Yunqi. Her cultivation was the highest at 9th-level Martial Emperor, while the other three were 8th-level Martial Emperors. Moreover, those who dared to enter the 100-tribe battlefield to train were all very strong. Lu Ming estimated that Yunqi and the other three were all superior earthly spiritual bodies. The 5 of them flew forward, and soon a deep ditch appeared in front of them. This ditch was created by later generations. It's a sign that we have officially entered the 100-tribe battlefield, Yunqi said. The 5 of them flew over the ditch. Chapter 1592. This chaos could not be seen with the naked eye. Even those with low cultivation could not feel it. Only those who had reached a certain level could feel it. However, they were not Saint Realm cultivators, so the chaotic laws did not affect them much. The 100-clan battlefield had taken place in ancient times. It was extremely far away from the present. The earth had regained its vitality and was the same as the outside world, except for the chaotic laws. Here, the 5 of them retracted their auras and became careful. The closer we are to the center of the 100-clan battlefield, the more powerful cultivators there are. We should be fine if we are careful in the periphery, Yunqi whispered. They nodded. The 100-clan battlefield. The closer to the center of the 100-clan battlefield, the stronger the cultivators who had participated in the war. Naturally, there are many treasures left behind. Therefore, the more powerful the prodigies, the more they would gather in the center to find opportunities and opponents to train themselves. Some of the weaker prodigies were active in the periphery. The 5 of them ran forward and did not encounter any danger. They occasionally encountered some demonic beasts, but most of them were not very powerful. The 100-clan battlefield was extremely huge. Soon, they had traveled tens of thousands of miles. Whoosh! At this moment, a soft sound rang out. Yun Feng screamed as one of his arms flew out and blood splattered everywhere. Oh no, someone is attacking us! Yunqi and the others were shocked. Whoosh! The soft sound of something breaking through the air rang out again. Retreat! Yun Shi yelled and retreated quickly. The others also retreated quickly. Poof! They retreated quickly enough, but Yun Kei was still hit. A deep sword wound appeared on his chest, and blood flowed out. His spiritual body wriggled crazily, trying to recover, but it seemed to be blocked by a terrifying killing intent that constantly destroyed his spiritual body, making it difficult for him to recover in a short period of time. Yun Feng was the same. One of his arms had been cut off and wanted to regrow, but there was a terrifying murderous intent that prevented his spiritual body from regrowing. The 1,000-kill sword technique. It's someone from the 1,000-kill house. Yun Kai roared, his face full of fear. Whoosh! At this moment, another soft sound rang out. There seemed to be a sword light stabbing toward Yun Kai. They could only feel a faint fluctuation, but they could not see the figure of the attacker. Even the sword light could not be seen. It was extremely terrifying. A silver spear appeared in Yun Shi's hand, and she swept it out. Clang! Yun Shi's spear seemed to have collided with a battle sword. With a loud boom, she blocked the sword. Yun Kai was so scared that he felt a chill run down his spine. A battle sword appeared in his hand, and it emitted a terrifying aura. Clearly, it was a saint weapon. At the same time, Yun Kei and Yun Feng both took out their saint weapons. The prodigies of Emperor-level forces naturally did not lack sacred weapons. It's the 1,000 Slayer Manor's concealment technique and shadowless sword. Let's surround him and prevent him from launching a sneak attack. Yun Shi shouted. The 5 of them immediately formed a circle and looked around nervously. Damn it! How unlucky! The moment he entered the 100-clan battlefield, he encountered the assassins of the 1,000 Slayer Manor. Yun Kei shouted angrily. At this moment, he had finally erased the terrifying, murderous aura. The wound on his chest had begun to heal. As for Yun Feng, his arm began to grow. Lu Ming, guard your side well. If you can't, then get out of here quickly so that you don't implicate us. Yun Kai said coldly. Whoosh! At this moment, a soft sound rang out again. This time it was aimed at Yun Shi. Yun Shi's pupils contracted rapidly. She swept out her spear, but when she swept it out, she realized that she had missed. Then, with a whoosh, the sword light pierced toward Yun Kai. Get out of here! Yun Kai roared and slashed out with his battle sword. Its power was extremely terrifying. Yun Kai's cultivation was at the peak of the 8th layer martial emperor realm. It was obvious that he had a superior earth spiritual body. With a saint weapon, he could easily kill someone at the peak of the 9th layer martial emperor realm. However, this sword strike still missed. The sword Qi landed on the ground and left a long sword mark that was dozens of meters deep. It directly split a hill in half. Whoosh! 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 The sound of the air being torn apart kept ringing out. The terrifying sword light kept stabbing, but it was not aimed at Yun Shi. Sometimes it was aimed at Yun Kai, sometimes it was aimed at Lu Ming. Only the sound of the sword could be heard, but the attacker and the sword were nowhere to be seen. Moreover, the sword light was extremely fast and powerful. It was ruthless and accurate. They were completely at a disadvantage. A while later, another sword wound was added to Yun Feng's body. Such a terrifying assassination technique. Lu Ming frowned slightly too. Their opponent's concealment technique was too powerful. He was able to completely conceal his figure. They could not even sense his aura. They were completely at a disadvantage. They could only endure the attacks without being able to counterattack. His cultivation is most likely at the 8th layer martial emperor realm. Yun Shi said, What should we do? We can't let this go on. We're being too passive. Yun Kai said, Let's go over there. There's a canyon there. Once we enter the canyon, it'll be advantageous for us. Yun Shi yelled. Their opponent's movement was too fast. The place was spacious, allowing him to move freely. Their counterattack could not hit him. If they entered the canyon, their opponent's movements would be greatly restricted. Bang! The spear in Yun Shi's hand expanded rapidly, turning into a 1,000-meter-long spear glow that swept across the place. Unfortunately, it still failed to hit her opponent. Let's go! At that instant, Yun Shi let out a roar and dashed toward the canyon. Lu Ming and the others followed Yun Shi and dashed in that direction. But before she could even get halfway, a terrifying sword light pierced toward Yun Shi's head. Yun Shi's pupils shrank and she abruptly stopped. Her spear swept up, and with a clang, she blocked her opponent's sword. At the same time, another sword light pierced toward Yun Feng from behind. Yun Feng roared angrily and slashed his sword backward. With a clang, he blocked the sword light as well. However, their expressions became even more unsightly. 2. There are 2 assassins from the 1,000 Killers Manor. Yun Kai yelled with a pale face. One assassin was already very troublesome to deal with. Now, 2 had appeared at the same time. Whoosh! At that moment, the black wings on Lu Ming's back spread open. With a flap, Lu Ming soared into the sky and left Yun Shi's group, flying into the distance. Damn it! That bastard is so afraid of death that he wants to escape by himself. Yun Kai roared angrily. Lu Ming's expression was cold and he did not say a word. His black wings flapped rapidly as he flew forward. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from Yun Shi's and Yun Kai's line of sight. What a coward! If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have brought him along. Yun Kai said. Yun Feng and Yun Kai's expressions were somewhat ugly. There's one less assassin. One of them was lured away by Lu Ming. At this moment, Yun Shi spoke. Chapter 1593. Haha, that guy is too smart for his own good. He's really digging his own grave. Yun Kai burst out laughing in a mocking tone. Meanwhile, Lu Ming suddenly came to a stop after flying for a while. He then turned around and glanced behind him coldly. Buzz! Behind him, a gentle ripple could be felt, as a figure wrapped in a black robe appeared, holding a sword in his hand. The sword was transparent and as thin as a cicada's wing. As an assassin, you dare to show yourself? Lu Ming spoke in a calm tone. Why would I need to conceal myself when dealing with a mere 6th-layer martial dominator like you? The black-robed assassin said in a cold voice. Oh, is that so? Don't regret it. There was a faint smile at the corners of Lu Ming's lips. I'll kill you with a single slash. A cold voice could be heard. Following this, the assassin made his move. With a flicker, his figure traveled a few hundred meters and appeared before Lu Ming in the blink of an eye. The sword as thin as a cicada's wing was thrust in Lu Ming's direction. A sacred weapon. The sword as thin as a cicada's wing was a sacred weapon. A terrifying sword glow pierced toward Lu Ming's throat at an unbelievable speed. Bang! The cry of a dragon could be heard coming from Lu Ming's body. Without realizing it, he had already put on the flowing force gloves. His true force was rapidly inserted into the flowing force gloves, causing them to become as heavy as a mountain. Lu Ming threw out a punch, which caused the air to be compressed together. A terrifying force was hurled toward the assassin. Buzz! The assassin's sword vibrated vigorously as it broke through the force of Lu Ming's fist and stabbed into Lu Ming's fist. Following a clank, a terrifying force was emitted from Lu Ming's fist, which surged toward the assassin like a landslide. The assassin's expression changed tremendously. The sword as thin as a cicada's wing continued to vibrate, while his figure was sent flying by the terrifying force of the punch. Puff! The assassin spat out a mouthful of blood, which wet the black cloth covering his mouth. His eyes, which were the only part exposed, were filled with astonishment. How could you possess such a powerful force? The other party spoke in disbelief. His cultivation was at the mid-8th layer martial dominator realm, which was almost 2 layers higher than Lu Ming's. He also possessed a superior earthly spirit body, but he was injured by Lu Ming with a single punch. "You want to kill me with this little bit of power?" Lu Ming said indifferently. "Humph, so what if you are strong? What I specialize in is not strength but assassination. Today you will still die." The black-robed assassin said coldly. Then his body moved and disappeared. It was as if he had disappeared into thin air. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and scanned the surroundings. Whoosh! Suddenly, a streak of sword light came from behind Lu Ming, stabbing towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming twisted his body and threw a punch behind him. However, this punch struck nothing but air. A burst of fist energy flew out and created a large crater in a distant mountain peak. Whoosh! Immediately, a streak of sword light appeared on Lu Ming's left side and attacked Lu Ming at an incredible speed. Lu Ming threw another punch. Unfortunately, when he threw the punch, the streak of sword light disappeared again, and Lu Ming's punch landed in the air again. Whoosh! Whoosh! Following this, terrifying streaks of sword light appeared continuously. At the same time, 7 or 8 streaks of sword light came from different directions and stabbed towards Lu Ming. "Piss off!" The black dragon spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he swung it horizontally. The long spear swept in all directions, and all the sword cries disappeared. However, it still did not hit the opponent. At the crucial moment, the opponent dodged Lu Ming's attack with a terrifying movement technique. "Let's see how many of my attacks you can dodge. When you lose your mind, it will be the time of your death." An ice-cold voice echoed in the air. However, it didn't come from a single direction. Instead, it was constantly changing. It seemed that with every word, the direction would change. This made Lu Ming unable to pinpoint the opponent's location. The opponent's assassination technique was indeed very terrifying. Those who were targeted by him had to maintain a high level of concentration at all times because the slightest carelessness would allow the opponent to seize the opportunity and kill them in one strike. If one had to maintain such a high level of concentration for a long time, one's mind would be exhausted. If that happened, only death would await them. Therefore, when Yun Shi, Yun Kai, and the others knew that it was an assassin from the Thousand Slayer Manor, their expressions became unsightly. The assassins from the Thousand Slayer Manor were synonymous with nightmares. Once targeted, there was only a slim chance of survival. Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand and stood still in the air. He spread out his spiritual sense. Soon after, the corner of Lu Ming's mouth curled into an indescribable smile. Suddenly, Lu Ming moved. The black dragon spear suddenly pierced towards the back. Man and spear became one, like a streak of black lightning. This spear seemed to be piercing towards the air, but in the next instant, a miserable scream rang out. The black-robed assassin revealed himself, and Lu Ming's spear pierced through his dantian. The black-robed assassin's eyes widened in disbelief. He roared, "How is this possible? How did you discover me?" "Sorry, my spiritual strength is many times stronger than cultivators of the same level. You can hide your body and you can restrain your aura, but it's difficult to hide your spiritual strength." Lu Ming smiled faintly. "So that's how it is. Haha, but if you kill me, you'll also die." The black-robed assassin suddenly laughed crazily. As he laughed, he stopped breathing. The spear just now had already shattered the assassin's spiritual divinity. Lu Ming pulled out his spear and reached out with his hand, grabbing the assassin's spatial ring. The black-robed assassin was too confident in his concealment skills. So when Lu Ming attacked, the assassin was completely unprepared and was easily killed by Lu Ming. If the assassin had been prepared, it wouldn't have been so easy for Lu Ming to kill him. The assassin was also a top genius with an extremely strange movement technique. Whoosh! With a flap of his black wings, Lu Ming flew towards Yun Shi and the others. At this moment, Yun Shi, Yun Kai, and the others were hiding in a canyon, carefully defending. We must find an opportunity to heavily injure this assassin. Otherwise, when the other assassin kills Lu Ming and returns, we'll be in danger even if we're in this canyon. Yun Kai said. He believed that Lu Ming was dead for sure. Whoosh! At this moment, the sound of rushing wind came from the distance. Lu Ming was flying over. Yun Kai's eyes suddenly widened, revealing a trace of disbelief. He shouted, "It's Lu Ming. He's actually not dead. He's actually still alive after being chased by an assassin from the Thousand Killers Manor?" With Lu Ming's cultivation facing a terrifying assassin from the Thousand Killers Manor, he should be dead for sure. "I'm sorry to disappoint you." Lu Ming stood high in the sky, looking down at Yun Kai. It's just luck." Yun Kai snorted coldly. Whoosh! At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly dove down, rushing towards the canyon. But when he was about to reach the canyon, Lu Ming suddenly turned around and stabbed his spear into the void. Chapter 1594. The black-clothed man's eyes were filled with disbelief. He didn't expect that Lu Ming would be able to discover him. At the critical moment, he used the long sword in his hand to block in front of him. Clang! The long spear collided with the black-clothed man's long sword. The long sword bent in an arc and collided with the black-clothed man's body. The black-clothed man's body shook violently and was sent flying. He slid on the ground, creating a several hundred-meter-long ditch. Swoosh! Lu Ming's figure didn't stop as he charged towards the black-clothed man. "Lu Ming, wait a moment." "Yun," she cried out in alarm. Lu Ming's heart shook. He landed beside the black-clothed man and pointed his long spear, sealing the black-clothed man's origin energy. "Why did you stop me?" Lu Ming looked at Yun Shi. At this moment, Yun Shi, Yun Kai, and the others were dumbfounded. The Thousand Slayer Manor's assassin that was extremely troublesome to them was easily dealt with by Lu Ming. Lu Ming, once an assassin from the Thousand Slayer Manor is killed, they will leave behind a trace of killing mark on the body of the person who killed them. It's almost impossible to erase. Other assassins from the Thousand Slayer Manor will use this trace to find the killer. They won't rest until the killer is dead. Therefore, you can't kill this Thousand Slayer Manor's assassin. Yun, she took a deep breath to calm herself down and explained. "So that's how it is." Lu Ming's gaze flickered, and he said helplessly, "Unfortunately, it's too late." "Too late?" Yun, she was stunned. Her beautiful eyes widened as she said, "Could it be that you've already killed someone?" "That's right. I've already killed the Thousand Slayer Manor's assassin who was chasing me earlier. Therefore, I don't mind killing one more person." After saying this, Lu Ming stabbed out with his long spear, killing the black-clothed assassin on the spot. A suction force came from his palm, and the assassin's storage ring and long sword were collected. Yun Shi, Yun Kai, and the others' faces were pale as they walked out of the valley. "Lu Ming, how did you discover the assassin's hiding place?" Yun Shi asked. "My soul force is stronger. That's why I can sense the assassin's soul fluctuation." Lu Ming explained. There was nothing to hide. It was normal for some people to be gifted with powerful innate soul force. "Lu Ming, you actually killed 2 assassins from Thousand Slayer Manor. Now please leave," Yun Kai said coldly from the side. "Oh." Lu Ming looked at Yun Kai. "You don't have to be unwilling. You already have the slaughter mark of the Thousand Slayer Manor on you. The assassins from the Thousand Slayer Manor in the 100-clan battlefield will keep looking for you. I don't want to be implicated by you," Yun Kai said coldly. "Hee hee." Lu Ming chuckled contemptuously. Previously, if it wasn't for Lu Ming, Yun Kai and the others wouldn't have stood a chance against the 2,000 Killers Manor's assassins. Now that the 1,000 Killers Manor's assassins were killed by Lu Ming, Yun Kai wanted to tell Lu Ming to leave so that he wouldn't be implicated by Lu Ming. "How laughable! What are you laughing at? Today you must leave," Yun Kai said coldly. There's no need for you to tell me to leave. It's not safe for me to stay with a piece of trash like you. Lu Ming said calmly. What did you say? How dare you say I'm a piece of trash? A mere sixth-layer martial dominator. Yun Kai was enraged as he snapped while pointing at Lu Ming. A mere sixth-layer martial dominator killed 2 assassins of the Thousand Killers Manor. What were you doing just then? Lu Ming said disdainfully, causing Yun Kai's face to redden. It's just that my soul force is slightly stronger. Yun Kai retorted. Lu Ming ignored Yun Kai's words. He glanced at Yun Feng, Yun Kai, and Yun Shi and said, Is this your opinion too? Yun Feng and Yun Kai wore awkward looks on their faces. They did not dare to look at Lu Ming and shifted their gazes away. Their opinion was the same as Yun Kai's. If Lu Ming continued to stay with them, they would all die when the experts of the Thousand Killers Manor arrived. Lu Ming! Yun, she opened her mouth, but she stopped halfway with a guilty look on her face. It was reasonable for her to keep Lu Ming here, but her rationality told her that they would all die if she kept Lu Ming here. The assassins of the Thousand Killers Manor were too terrifying. Besides, the 100-tribe battlefield was the sacred ground of the Thousand Killers Manor, where countless geniuses gathered. The Thousand Killers Manor would send a large number of geniuses to the 100-tribe battlefield every year to practice their assassination skills. Therefore, many geniuses were intimidated by the Thousand Killers Manor at the 100-tribe battlefield. Those who were targeted by the Thousand Killers Manor were rarely able to survive. That's enough, I understand. Lu Ming will take his leave now, Lu Ming said coldly as he turned around to leave. However, at that instant, Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he glanced in a certain direction. Whoosh! Whoosh! 3 figures could be seen flying toward them from that direction. The one in the middle was wearing a purple golden robe. He had a slender and handsome figure, and there was a purple-colored sword-shaped mark on his forehead. His entire being was filled with a noble aura. Beside him were 2 other young men wearing purple-colored robes, who appeared to be extraordinary too. The 3 of them stopped above Lu Ming and his crew, staring down at Lu Ming and his crew. One of the young men glanced at Yun Shi with a hint of battle intent in his eyes. 9th layer martial dominator realm, the same as me. Young master, how about I go and test my strength? Sure, go ahead. The noble young man in the middle nodded his head. Whoosh! The young man stepped forward and emitted a 9th layer martial dominator realm aura, suppressing Yun Shi as he said, Fight me! This was the 100-tribe battlefield. There was no need for a reason to fight, as there were no rules here. There were only 2 reasons for the young geniuses to come here. Firstly, to train themselves. Secondly, to search for fortunate encounters. Only through great battles, only through killing, could one temper oneself. Once they stumbled into someone with a similar cultivation, it was normal for them to attack without a reason. On the other hand, those with a higher cultivation would not attack those with a lower cultivation, as there was no point in training themselves, unless they had some kind of treasure on them. They would either challenge those with a higher cultivation or those with the same cultivation level, to improve themselves in the face of death. Let's fight then. Yun, she held the spear in her hand and stepped into the air, facing the purple-robed young man. Kill! Without wasting any time, the purple-robed young man made his move. A light that appeared on his forehead, and a battle sword flew out from it. He grabbed the sword in his hand and slashed at Yun Shi. Whoosh! Yun, she lashed out with her spear like a silver lightning bolt. Clang! The spear and the battle sword collided, causing the sword intent and the spear glow to scatter in all directions. The 2 figures shuddered and were knocked a few steps backward. Without a doubt, the opponent was also a genius with a superior earthly spiritual body, possessing a shocking strength. Not bad, but it's far from enough, shouted the purple-clothed young man. A dot of light appeared on his arm. From that dot of light, a battle axe flew out and floated above his head. The battle axe seemed to have a connection with the battle sword in his hand, causing the power of the battle sword in his hand to become even stronger. Art of 10,000 Weapons. You're from the Wan clan. Chapter 1595. Not bad. Let's see how many of my weapons you can take. The purple-clad young man stepped forward and slashed out with his sword. The sword light tore through the void, and its power was even stronger than before. Flying cloud spear art. Yun, she shouted. Her long spear was like a dragon, thrusting out streaks of dazzling spear light toward the purple-clad young man. Clang! 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 The two of them clashed continuously, but they were still evenly matched. However, what was surprising was that the purple-clad young man's body shone with bright spots. A weapon flew out from each bright spot. These weapons floated around the purple-clad young man's body. These weapons seemed to be connected with each other. All the battle weapon chi gathered in the purple-clad young man's battle sword, making the battle sword in his hand more and more terrifying. The purple-clad young man's weapon was only an emperor-level spiritual weapon, but it could borrow the chi of other spiritual weapons and merge them into one. Its power was even stronger than Yun Shi's sacred weapon. Kill! The purple-clad young man became braver as he fought. He held a sword in his right hand and a battle axe in his left hand. He attacked from both sides and charged toward Yun Shi. Slowly, Yun Shi was being suppressed. What a strange domain. What a strange battle skill. There was a look of surprise in Lu Ming's eyes. His opponent's domain could actually use different weapons at the same time. When he used a sword, he could turn it into a sword domain. When he used an axe, he could turn it into an axe domain. It seemed to be similar to his chaotic domain. However, his opponent couldn't have cultivated the chaotic domain. 10,000 weapons domain. An extremely rare domain flashed in Lu Ming's mind. It was the 10,000 weapons domain. Legend had it that those who cultivated the 10,000 weapons domain could control all the weapons in the world. No matter what weapon was used, it could turn into a corresponding weapon domain. Of course, it was only limited to weapons. It couldn't turn into a fire domain or water domain. Those were the specialties of the chaotic domain. However, it was still very amazing. Come out. Finally, the purple-clad young man shouted. Bright spots lit up on his body again, and weapons flew out one after another. There were a total of 18 different weapons floating around the purple-clad young man. All of them were Emperor-level spiritual weapons. When the battle weapon chi of the 18 Emperor-level spiritual weapons gathered, their power was shocking. Clang! Yun, she was sent flying by the sword. She spat out a mouthful of blood and her face pale. Yun, she had been defeated. He was no match for her at the same level. Look at your skills. You must be from the Yundi Mountain. Hee, the Yundi Mountain is just SOO. The purple-clothed young man smiled disdainfully and did not continue to attack. He stepped into the air and returned to the noble young man's side. 18 different ruler-level spirit weapons flew into his body and disappeared. Yun Shi's expression was ugly, but the 10,000 weapon chant practiced by the Wan family was really powerful. There are so many geniuses. Are they all geniuses from emperor-ranked powers? A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. How long had it been since he entered the 100-tribe battlefield? Previously, he had met the 1,000 Slayer Manor's geniuses. Now he was meeting the Wan clan's geniuses. They were all geniuses with high-grade earth astrophysiques. Moreover, their cultivation techniques and battle skills were stronger than the previous. If such prodigies were to be placed in the Tsang Prefecture, every single one of them would have the chance to compete for the position of the 10 great demon geniuses in the future. This caused the blood in his body to boil a little. Only in such an environment could one improve faster. At that instant, the noble young man glanced at the corpse of the 1,000 Slayer Manor's assassin and said in astonishment, The assassin of the Thousand Slayer manor was killed by you guys. Although he used the word you guys, his gaze was fixed on Yun Shi. In his opinion, only Yun Shi's strength was worth mentioning. The others were not worth mentioning. Among them, there was even a sixth layer martial dominator realm cultivator. I didn't kill him. Yun, she shook her head. Not you. The noble young man was startled. It's him. He killed him. At that instant, Yun Kai pointed at Lu Ming and blurted out. The noble young man was startled before he glanced at Lu Ming and said in astonishment, It's you? A mere sixth layer martial dominator realm cultivator was able to kill an assassin of the Thousand Slayer manor? Interesting. A sixth layer martial dominator realm cultivator was able to kill an assassin of the Thousand Slayer manor. Interesting indeed. Young master, let me test him and see what he's capable of. Another purple-clothed young man beside the noble young man said, The noble young man nodded his head. The purple-clothed young man stepped forward as a powerful aura burst out from his body. Peak 8th layer martial dominator realm. This purple-clothed young man's cultivation was slightly weaker than the one that Yun Shi had fought before. Kid, come and fight me. I would like to see what kind of special abilities you have. The purple-clothed young man glanced at Lu Ming. Lu Ming rose into the air as a powerful battle intent burst out from his body. He was eager to see how powerful the secret technique of the Wan clan was. Kid, you go first. Use your full strength at the end, or you won't have the chance. The purple-clothed young man calmly said with a disdainful look. A sixth layer martial dominator realm cultivator was nothing in his eyes. He was only curious that Lu Ming was able to kill an assassin of the Thousand Slayer manor. Otherwise, with his cultivation, he would not challenge a sixth layer martial dominator realm cultivator, as it would not serve as a training ground for him. Bang! Lu Ming was too lazy to waste his time. Since the young man had asked him to make the first move, he immediately made his move. He executed the heavenly art of hell and threw a punch in the direction of the purple-clothed young man. The space trembled as the terrifying force of the punch suppressed the air, forming a terrifying wave of air that surged toward the young man. The young man's expression changed tremendously. The power of Lu Ming's punch had completely exceeded his expectations. A spot of light appeared in between his eyebrows. A huge axe flew out and slashed toward Lu Ming. Clang! The fist collided with the axe, causing the young man's body to tremble violently as he was knocked a few steps back. So that's all you've got? Lu Ming calmly said, Die. The young man let out a roar as 6 light dots appeared on his body. 6 mystical weapons of different colors appeared. Together with the battle axe from before, there were a total of 7 mystical weapons, all of which were martial dominator realm. The 7 martial dominator realm weapons floated around the young man as the auras of the weapons merged with one another and gathered on the battle axe. Die. The young man let out a roar as he slashed at Lu Ming with the battle axe in his hand. The power of his attack was stronger than before. The flowing force gauntlet covered his hand as his chi surged into it, causing it to feel as heavy as a mountain. Bang! Lu Ming punched out once again. This time, the young man was knocked back again as he was suppressed by Lu Ming. Although the young man's cultivation was 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's and his battle skills were extremely powerful, his spiritual body was still a superior earth spiritual body. Lu Ming was able to defeat or even kill such a genius back at the treasure sorting convention. Now that Lu Ming had used a sacred weapon, he could easily suppress the young man. Die. The young man let out a frenzied roar. He couldn't accept that he was suppressed in 2 consecutive moves. Chapter 1596. Another light spot lit up in his body. This time there were 10 light spots at once, and another 10 Emperor-level spirit weapons flew out. 17 Emperor-level weapons floated in the air. The aura of the weapons was extremely dense and gathered on the battle axe. It made the young man's aura extremely strong. Kill! 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 The young man in purple robe shouted. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. He wanted to kill Lu Ming to redeem his face. He took a step forward, surrounded by his weapons. The giant axe was swung out as if it could split the sky. You want to kill me? Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a sharp light. More true yuan poured into the flowing element glove. The flowing element glove shone like a small sun. Boom! He threw out a punch that could crush everything. Dong! 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 Lu Ming exchanged 3 moves with his opponent. After each move, his opponent had to take 3 steps back. After 3 moves, his opponent had to take 9 steps back. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. The power of the divine sword art exploded. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. 2 black swords shot out from his eyes and rushed into the young man in purple robes. The young man's body trembled, and his eyes lost focus for a moment. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming threw out another punch. This punch was as easy as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. At the critical moment, although the other party used his battle axe to block it, there was a limit to the amount of energy he could muster. The battle axe was sent flying by Lu Ming's punch. He retreated wildly and vomited blood. Whoosh! Lu Ming took a big step forward, wanting to defeat his opponent in 1 move. Enough! The noble young man frowned. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he took a step forward. Boom! This step seemed to shake the heavens and earth. A terrifying force rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face changed. He threw out a punch, but it was useless. He could not break through the force. When the force rushed over, Lu Ming's body slid back a few thousand meters. What? Taking turns to fight? If one doesn't work, 2? Lu Ming sneered. Taking turns to fight? Haha, what a joke. The noble young man clasped his hands behind his back and stood in the air. His body exuded a terrifying pressure that bore down on Lu Ming. It was like a divine weapon that wanted to break through the heavens and slash apart the world. Lu Ming covered his entire body with his primal chaos domain, resisting the pressure with all his might. Your strength is not bad, but a mere 6th-layer martial dominator realm is not worthy enough to fight me, the noble young man said indifferently. His tone was filled with confidence and disdain for Lu Ming. Lu Ming was not worthy of fighting with him. After saying this, the noble young man looked at the young man who had been injured by Lu Ming and said, "Cultivate well in the future and strive to break through. The next time you see this person, you will kill him with your own hands. Do you understand?" "Understood, young master." The young man in purple bowed in response. His gaze towards Lu Ming was filled with icy cold killing intent. "Let's go." The noble young man withdrew his aura and soared into the sky. That was right, as he had mentioned. Lu Ming's cultivation was too weak to fight him. He was not even interested in fighting him. In the blink of an eye, the noble young man and the 2 young men in purple disappeared from the crowd's sight. Meanwhile, Yun Kai, Yun Feng, and the others glanced at Lu Ming with great fear. Lu Ming was able to defeat a genius of the 8th-layer martial dominator realm from the Wan clan. His strength had exceeded their expectations. Although Yun Kai's cultivation was also at the peak of the 8th-layer martial dominator realm, he believed that he would not stand a chance against the geniuses of the Wan clan. However, Lu Ming was able to defeat him, implying that his strength was stronger than his. She glanced at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. She was no match against the geniuses of the Wan clan, but Lu Ming was able to defeat the geniuses of the Wan clan with a gap of 2 layers. His strength was unbelievable. Farewell. At that instant, Lu Ming glanced at Yun Shi and brought his fists together, planning to leave on his own. It was more convenient for him to move on his own. Lu Ming, the Thousand Assassins sect, was established by the Thousand Assassins martial monarch. Its strength is incredible, with countless experts, especially at the 100-tribe battlefield. Be careful. Yun, she could not bear it, and reminded Lu Ming. Thanks, I'll be careful. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, there are cities built by locals at the 100-tribe battlefield. If you were to enter the cities, the people of the Thousand Assassins sect would be cautious and not dare to cross the line. Yun, she reminded. Lu Ming nodded. Not everyone at the 100-tribe battlefield was an outsider like them. There were locals too. In truth, the natives were not pure natives. They were all people who had entered the 100-race battlefield in the distant past. Some of them had stayed in the 100-race battlefield forever and never left. They had taken root in the 100-race battlefield and reproduced. Over time, more and more people came to the 100-tribe battlefield. These people were called locals. Moreover, the natives had been living in the 100-race battlefield since they were young. They were already used to the chaotic laws and could adapt to them. Therefore, some natives with peerless talent were able to break through to the Saint Realm in the 100-race battlefield without dying or going crazy because of the chaotic laws. However, the restrictions on the 100-tribe battlefield were great. Therefore, the strongest of the locals could only cultivate to the bright Saint Realm. It was almost impossible for them to break through to the great Saint Realm. These local Saint Realm experts would build cities and establish forces on the 100-tribe battlefield. Killing was generally forbidden in these cities. Therefore, if anyone violated the rules, the local Saint Realm experts might act and kill the violator. Therefore, there were no rules on the 100-tribe battlefield, but there were still some rules in those cities. Of course, things were not absolute. If one was strong enough, one could kill others in the city and quickly escape the city. Even the saints could not do anything about it. But at least it was much safer than outside the city. Therefore, Yun, she suggested that Lu Ming go to the city. Lu Ming did not say anything more. He turned and stepped into the air, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Humph! With the slaughter mark on him, he will definitely not be able to reach the nearest city. He will definitely be found and killed by the 1,000-killer manner. Yun Kai sneered. Yun, she looked at Yun Kai with some disgust, then turned and left. Whoosh whoosh, Lu Ming controlled the black feather wings and moved forward at an extremely fast speed. Soon he had flown tens of thousands of miles. The 100-tribe battlefield has gathered the geniuses of many Emperor-level forces. Almost all of them are geniuses with superior earthly spiritual bodies. In the depths of the 100-tribe battlefield, there are even geniuses who have cultivated to the heavenly spiritual body. There are too many geniuses. My cultivation is too weak. I must break through as soon as possible. Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. Lu Ming's weakness had always been his cultivation. He came from a remote island, and the cultivation environment was not good. Compared to the geniuses of Yuan Lu, his cultivation was much weaker. He had comprehended the primal chaos domain. He did not fear anyone at the same level. It's time to find a place to break through. Lu Ming looked around. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, Lu Ming flew toward a large mountain. Then the primal chaos domain turned into the earth domain. Lu Ming directly rushed into the mountain. Just like the earth escape technique, there was no change on the surface of the mountain. Chapter 1597. After entering the mountain and river diagram, Lu Ming sat cross-legged under the Enlightenment ancient tree. By now, Lu Ming had watered it with a large amount of spiritual liquid. The Enlightenment ancient tree was growing very well. It was now 2 meters tall, and its trunk was as thick as an arm. Its branches and leaves were lush, and wisps of heavenly Tao aura lingered between the branches and leaves. When a cultivator sat cross-legged under the Enlightenment ancient tree, his heart would be calm, his mind would be clear, and his thoughts would be active. The speed of comprehension would increase by many times. Following that, Lu Ming took out a heavenly Tao stone. The heavenly Tao stone emitted heavenly Tao aura, allowing Lu Ming to comprehend the chaotic domain even faster. Lu Ming closed his eyes and quietly comprehended. Previously, Lu Ming had traveled the world for a full year and was in harmony with nature. During that year, although Lu Ming's cultivation progress was very slow, his chaotic domain had already reached the peak of level 6 and could break through at any time. Furthermore, Lu Ming was in harmony with nature, so his comprehension speed was faster. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Lu Ming's chaotic domain suddenly shook and became stronger and more condensed. The chaotic domain had broken through and reached level 7. A level 7 domain was already considered a domain controlled by a high-level martial emperor. However, Lu Ming did not stop. His previous accumulation was too strong. It was like a flood that flowed out of a dam. The chaotic domain was improving rapidly. As for the heavenly Tao stones, Lu Ming took them out one after another. After another 2 days, Lu Ming's chaotic domain reached the peak of level 7 in one go. With this breakthrough, the chaotic domain directly increased by an entire level. The speed was shocking. Of course, this was because Lu Ming had been accumulating for a year. Now that he had suddenly erupted, the speed was naturally shocking. Later on, after the eruption, his cultivation speed would return to normal. After the breakthrough in the chaotic domain, it was time to make a breakthrough in cultivation. Lu Ming took out a large number of mid-grade origin stones and erupted with devouring power, starting to devour and refine them. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. Lu Ming's cultivation skyrocketed until it reached the peak 7th layer martial dominator realm, which was on par with the chaos domain. Lu Ming had officially stepped into the ranks of high-level martial emperors. His battle prowess had greatly increased. The increase in Lu Ming's cultivation brought about an increase in his battle prowess. As his true essence increased, his spirit body would become more condensed and stronger. Moreover, his soul force would also become stronger as his cultivation increased. Furthermore, due to the difficulty of raising the primal chaos domain, the might of the primal chaos domain would soar every time it was raised. At the same time as one's cultivation rose, one would be able to better utilize the prowess of a saint artifact. Therefore, Lu Ming's cultivation increased by 1 level, and his battle prowess skyrocketed. Currently, if Lu Ming were to fight against a peak 8th layer martial dominator realm genius like Yun Kai, he was confident that he would be able to defeat him in an instant. It's time for me to go out and find experts to spar with. Only then will I be able to break through faster. Blindly going into seclusion has lost the meaning of coming to the 100-tribe battlefield. Lu Ming pondered for a moment before exiting the mountain and river diagram. He transformed the chaos domain into the earth domain and rushed out of the mountain, flying towards the depths of the 100-race battlefield. Whoosh! 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 Lu Ming had not flown far when he saw a few figures cutting through the void and flying in one direction. Someone glanced at Lu Ming from afar, ignoring Lu Ming's presence. They are all experts, 9th layer martial dominator realm experts. Lu Ming murmured and continued to move forward. However, Lu Ming encountered several batches of people consecutively, and they were flying in the same direction. Isn't it too much of a coincidence that so many people are flying in the same direction? Or is there something attracting them in that direction? Lu Ming pondered. Whoosh! 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 At that instant, Lu Ming saw another 3 figures flying in the same direction. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming immediately withdrew his aura and landed on the ground. He used the trees to cover the mountain and followed the group from afar. An hour later, they arrived at a vast mountain range. The 3 figures suddenly came to a stop and nodded at one another before descending and disappearing. Lu Ming soared into the sky and appeared in the sky above where the few of them had been standing earlier. He looked down. Below him was a huge boulder, but he could see a well-hidden crack among the boulders. It was difficult to see it without taking a closer look. At that moment, those silhouettes had already disappeared. Could it be that those people had entered the crack? Lu Ming summoned the black, feathered wings with a thought. Following this, his figure was encapsulated by the chaotic domain as he descended toward the crack. The crack continued to extend downward. It was pitch black, but as Lu Ming continued to descend, the crack became bigger and wider. There's another world inside the crack. Lu Ming stood in the air and glanced downward. Below him was a boundless land. With the dim light, he could barely see the mountains and rivers. Lu Ming landed on a mountain and scanned his surroundings. What came into view were huge mountains, but there was no vegetation. There were only black rocks and mud everywhere. Could it be that the people he saw before are all here? Lu Ming pondered. The 100 Tribes battlefield took place in the ancient times. Countless experts participated in the battle, and countless experts died in the battle, forming a strange place. Those strange places usually had great opportunities, but they were also accompanied by risks. Kill. Suddenly, a strong wind blew behind Lu Ming, attacking Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not hesitate. He dodged the attack with a flicker and turned around. What is this? Such a strong demonic aura. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. The one attacking him was a tall and muscular monster covered in black bone spikes. It had a humanoid figure and was holding a battle axe in its hand. Its body was emitting a strong demonic aura. Kill! The monster uttered human words and roared, pouncing toward Lu Ming. 6th layer martial dominator realm die. Lu Ming lashed out a punch with the force of the hell-suppressing heaven art. Bang! The monster's strength was equivalent to the 6th layer martial dominator realm. Its body exploded as soon as it was struck by Lu Ming's punch. However, this monster did not have a body of flesh and blood. After its body exploded, it turned into a cloud of demonic aura and kept tumbling in the air. It then condensed into the appearance of the monster and charged toward Lu Ming with a roar. Since it's made of demonic aura, I shall erase your demonic aura. Lu Ming immediately unleashed his chaotic domain. The monster's body was shattered once again, turning into a demonic aura. However, the demonic aura reappeared and transformed into the appearance of the monster, although its aura was slightly weakened. What kind of monster is this? Even the chaotic domain can only erase its aura slightly. It's impossible to kill it. Lu Ming was astounded. Chapter 1598. This monster was even more difficult to deal with than those martial artists who cultivated natural spiritual bodies. When those martial artists who cultivated natural spiritual bodies were attacked, their bodies would turn into natural elements to reduce the damage. However, as long as they were strong enough, they could still continuously destroy the opponent's spiritual body. However, this monster seemed to be unable to be destroyed by pure strength. Even the chaotic domain had little effect on it. No, this monster has a core. It's right between its eyebrows. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. When he scattered the monster again, he discovered that there was a black crystal between the monster's eyebrows. It was surrounded by demonic chi. He had not discovered it before. Moreover, the scattered demonic chi had gathered there to reform the monster's body. Puff! Lu Ming stepped forward and clawed out. Like a dragon's claw, his claw pierced through the monster's eyebrows and grabbed the crystal. Then, Lu Ming retreated and took out the crystal. Lu Ming looked and saw that there was a black crystal in his hand. There was a layer of black, demonic fire on the crystal. There's a trace of spirituality on the crystal. Interesting. Extinguish. Lu Ming muttered and poured his true essence into the crystal. The demonic fire on the crystal was extinguished. Bang! When the demonic fire on the crystal was extinguished, the monster's body exploded and turned into demonic chi. It dissipated between heaven and earth and could no longer reform. This crystal was the core. Could this be the legendary demonic fiend crystal? Looking at the crystal in his hand, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Demonic fiend crystal was a very precious treasure. It could only be born in places with extremely dense demonic qi. The greatest function of the demonic fiend crystal was to temper the soul. Through the tempering of the demonic fiend crystal, a martial artist's soul power would constantly improve. There's actually a demonic fiend crystal in this place. Lu Ming's eyes became brighter and brighter. Lu Ming cultivated the divine sword art. The demonic fiend crystal was of great use to him. Because of the world-refining calamity bell, Lu Ming's soul power was dozens of times stronger than other martial practitioners at the same level. Lu Ming's current soul power was even stronger than a warrior at the peak of the 9th level of the martial royal realm. His soul power was even close to that of a half-saint. With such a strong soul power, the divine sword art could directly tear apart the soul of a martial artist of the same level, causing the opponent's soul to scatter. Even a martial artist at the peak of the 9th level of the martial royal realm would be greatly affected, and their combat strength would be greatly reduced. Even half-saints could be affected by Lu Ming's soul attack, and their fighting strength would be weakened. If Lu Ming's soul power continued to improve and reach the level of a half-saint, or even stronger, he could directly tear apart a half-saint's soul when using the Holy Sword technique. This would greatly enhance Lu Ming's battle strength. Moreover, it was said that the more powerful a martial artist was, the more they focused on their soul. It was said that after one's cultivation reached a certain level, the soul was extremely important to a martial artist. Therefore, the value of demon fiend crystals in the market was shockingly high. Are there any more demon fiend crystals in this place? After Lu Ming put away the demon fiend crystals, his figure flashed, and he directly rushed down the mountain and landed on a rugged place with strange rocks. Roar! As soon as Lu Ming landed, a loud roar resounded, and a giant tiger pounced on Lu Ming. This giant tiger was pitch black and had a surging demon qi. It was also at the 6th level of the martial royal realm. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch, and the gigantic tiger exploded. Just like the humanoid demonic creature, previously, the demonic aura surged and the gigantic tiger's body condensed again. Sure enough, just now, Lu Ming had indeed seen a crystal between the giant tiger's eyebrows. Kill! Lu Ming stepped forward, and his claw pierced through the giant tiger's eyebrows and grabbed the crystal. Demon fiend crystal. It was really a demon fiend crystal. There was also a layer of demon fire on it, which was extinguished by Lu Ming. As for the giant tiger, it turned into demon qi and dissipated. Haha, this is really a land of treasures. Lu Ming was overjoyed. His figure flickered as he began to search for demonic creatures. After a few miles, another demonic creature appeared. It was a giant wolf, also at the 6th level of the martial royal realm. Lu Ming grabbed the demon fiend crystal between its eyebrows and continued to move forward. Roar! Roar! For more than 10 miles, Lu Ming did not see any demonic creatures. However, after 10 miles, continuous roars could be heard as 6 demonic creatures pounced on him. One of them was at the 8th level of the martial royal realm. 2 of them were at the 7th level of the martial royal realm, and the other 3 were at the 6th level of the martial royal realm. The 6 demonic creatures attacked at the same time, which was extremely powerful. Lu Ming cast the wind element skill, and his figure flashed. He killed a 6th level martial emperor demonic creature with one move and grabbed the demon crystal. At the same time, he flapped his black wings and scattered the other demonic creatures, turning them into demonic aura. However, they condensed again the next moment. Puff! Puff! Lu Ming continued to attack. The demon fiend crystals of the other 2 6th level martial royal realm demonic creatures were grabbed by Lu Ming and stored in the mountain and river diagram. Then he pounced on a 7th-level martial royal realm demonic creature and clawed at it. The demonic creature let out a roar and twisted its head to dodge Lu Ming's attack. However, Lu Ming's claw landed on its body, which exploded into pieces, but quickly recondensed. "Pretty smart," Lu Ming murmured as he continued to grab the other 2 demonic creatures. The 2 demonic creatures were also very smart. They protected their heads very well and did not let Lu Ming grab them. As for their bodies, they allowed Lu Ming to bombard them. These demonic creatures were even more difficult to deal with than cultivators of the same level. As long as they protected their heads, they would attack the other parts of their bodies. If it weren't for Lu Ming's outstanding strength, he would have been in trouble. 9 seals of the God Gate. Let's see how you're going to escape. Lu Ming performed a hand seal, causing 7 doors of the seal to appear in the sky. Lu Ming was now able to summon 7 doors of the seal. The 7 doors of the seal emitted a blinding glow, which instantly froze the 3 demonic creatures in place. Puff! 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 Lu Ming's figure flickered as he grabbed the demon fiend crystals of the 3 demonic creatures. He then used his true force to erase the presence of the crystals. The 6 demonic creatures turned into demonic chi and dissipated into the air. The higher the cultivation of the demonic creature, the better the quality of the demon fiend crystal. Lu Ming inspected the 7th layer martial royal realm and the 8th layer demon fiend crystal in his hand, and discovered that their quality was indeed better than the 6th layer martial royal realm demonic creatures. Lu Ming put them away and continued to move forward. There seemed to be a large number of demonic creatures in this place. As Lu Ming moved forward, he constantly encountered demonic creatures. The highest level ones were equivalent to 9th layer martial royal realm demonic creatures. The higher the level, the stronger the strength, and the harder it was to capture the demon fiend crystal. However, Lu Ming had the 9 seals of the God Gate, which could seal the movements of the demonic creatures, making it more convenient. In the end, Lu Ming even asked Bubbles to help. With Bubbles' space-time domain, it was easy to seal the demonic creatures. Lu Ming was like a harvester, harvesting the demon fiend crystals. Half a day later, Lu Ming had obtained more than 100 demon fiend crystals. Chapter 1599. Inside a cave, a pagoda was floating above Lu Ming's head. A space-time domain was emitted from the pagoda, and a transparent bubble was formed, trapping a 9th layer martial dominator realm demonic creature. Lu Ming grabbed the demonic creature's demon crystal with his claw. It's so convenient with Bubble's help. Lu Ming's face was filled with smiles. Bubble was hiding inside the pagoda. As Lu Ming's cultivation improved, the people he came into contact with were also stronger. Many people would be able to recognize Bubble at a glance. A young space-time spirit mouse was priceless and extremely tempting. If it was targeted by some powerful existences, Lu Ming would be in danger. Therefore, when Lu Ming asked Bubble to come out to help, he would let Bubble enter the pagoda. This way, many people would think that the pagoda only had the space-time domain. Although the pagoda with the space-time domain was precious, it still had some functions. Since it could not be upgraded, some powerful existences would not be interested in it. However, if it was a space-time spirit mouse, it would be completely different. After being trained, it would be able to defy the heavens in the future. This was the real top 10 battle beasts. Lu Ming naturally had to be cautious. After obtaining the demon crystal, Lu Ming exited the cave and continued to move forward. This area was very spacious. Until now, Lu Ming had not encountered anyone else. Not long after, Lu Ming obtained a few more demon crystals. Roar! 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 At this moment, Lu Ming heard a series of roars coming from ahead. They were all the cries of demonic creatures. Judging from the sound, there were a lot of them. Let's go! Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he rushed toward the direction of the sound. After going around 2 mountains, Lu Ming saw a large group of demonic creatures besieging four young men. It's them, what a coincidence! Lu Ming squinted his eyes. The four young men were Yun Shi, Yun Kai, and the others. They must have seen the others coming in this direction, so they followed. At least hundreds of monsters were besieging Yun Shi and the others. With Yun Shi and the others' battle prowess, it was easy for them to fight across realms, so they weren't afraid of these demonic creatures. However, with so many demonic creatures, it wouldn't be so easy to obtain the demon crystals. Damn, these monsters are too cunning. They always avoid the head, so we can't get the demon fiend crystals. Yun Kai cursed. If there were a small number of monsters, they could besiege them and get the demon crystals. But there were too many monsters on the scene. Moreover, you can't directly shatter the monster's head. That way, the demon fiend crystals inside will also be shattered. That way, wouldn't it be a waste? Yun Shi's group of four continued to attack. Demonic creatures were constantly being blasted apart. But as soon as these demonic creatures were blasted apart, other demonic creatures would rush over and attack Yun Shi's group, making it so that they had no time to pursue and seize the demon fiend crystals. After fighting for a while, they didn't even get a single demon crystal. At this time, Lu Ming stepped out and walked out. It's you, Lu Ming. Yun Shi, Yun Kai, and the others were astonished when they saw Lu Ming walk out. Lu Ming, you're actually still alive. Looks like your luck isn't bad. The Thousand Slayer Manor hasn't found you during this time. Yun Kai sneered. Lu Ming glanced at Yun Kai indifferently. Lu Ming directly ignored this kind of person. Roar, roar. When Lu Ming appeared, a group of demonic creatures changed direction and rushed toward Lu Ming. Almost all of them were 6th or 7th level Martial Emperor realm demonic creatures. 9 Divine Gate seals. Lu Ming formed hand seals, and 7 Divine Gate seals appeared, sealing 7 demonic creatures. Then his figure flickered, and 7 demon fiend crystals appeared in Lu Ming's hand. So easy! Yun Shi, Yun Kai, and the others were dumbfounded, especially Yun Kai, who revealed a jealous expression. Roar, roar. More demonic creatures rushed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming formed another Divine Gate seal, and this time Bubble assisted Lu Ming. A large number of demonic creatures were frozen, unable to move. Lu Ming walked leisurely as if he was picking fruits in his own backyard. His claws reached out, and demon fiend crystals were grabbed by Lu Ming. The demonic creatures turned into demonic chi and dissipated. Then Lu Ming rushed toward the demonic creatures that were besieging Yun Shi and the others. He repeated the same trick. Soon, more than 100 demonic creatures all turned into demonic aura and dissipated. The demon crystals all entered Lu Ming's mountain river diagram. This, Yun Shi and the others were stunned. Damn it! Yun Kai's eyes were filled with the flames of jealousy. They had worked hard to obtain a single demon fiend crystal, but Lu Ming had easily obtained more than 100 demon fiend crystals. His speed was many times faster than theirs. Lu Ming, these demonic creatures were attracted by us. It's too unkind of you to take action halfway. Why don't you take out some demon fiend crystals and share them with us? Yun Kai's gaze shifted as he sneered. You guys attracted them? Ridiculous! This area is full of demonic creatures. How can you say you attracted them? Moreover, I saved you guys. You don't thank me for saving you, but you want me to share your demon fiend crystals. You're really thick-skinned. Lu Ming mocked. Humph. Yun Kai coldly snorted. His face was a little ugly. Then his eyes shifted again, revealing a fake smile. Lu Ming, you came from Cloud Emperor Mountain, so you're originally part of our team. How about you return to the team now? We'll take the demon fiend crystals together and divide them equally. How about it? Lu Ming's face revealed a sneer, looking at Yun Kai as if he was looking at an idiot. This Yun Kai was not only thick-skinned, but also shameless. Previously, he was afraid of being hunted by Thousand Slayer Manor, so he chased Lu Ming away. Now, after seeing Lu Ming's shocking efficiency in seizing the demon fiend crystals, he wanted Lu Ming to return to the team. Moreover, he even proposed to divide the demon fiend crystals equally. How ridiculous was that? Lu Ming's lips curled into a mocking smile. Sure, but after we leave this place, we'll still be a team. We'll travel together. How about it? This, Yun Kai immediately stiffened. What a joke! After leaving this place, Lu Ming would continue to be with them. If the assassins of Thousand Slayer Manor came, then wouldn't they have to die with Lu Ming? How could that be possible? Yun Kai's gaze shifted again. All right, sure. Although he said so, he was thinking in his heart that he would first stabilize Lu Ming, and after obtaining a large amount of demon fiend crystals and leaving this place, he would kick Lu Ming away. Haha, I was just joking with you just now. You believe me? Lu Ming laughed loudly. The ridicule in his voice was even thicker. Lu Ming, you! Yun Kai was furious, knowing that he was fooled by Lu Ming. Lu Ming had no intention of returning to the team. Roar! Roar! At this moment, a series of roars came from a nearby canyon. The ground shook as a group of demonic creatures charged over ferociously. There are so many demonic creatures here. Chapter 1600. Lu Ming cooperated with Bubble and harvested the demon crystals from the demonic creatures. Yun Kai's eyes turned red with jealousy. He roared angrily and wanted to grab the demon crystals. However, after fighting with a demonic creature for a long time, he only managed to get one. Lu Ming had already obtained nearly 100 demon crystals. More than 100 demonic creatures had rushed out of the canyon. In the blink of an eye, there were only a dozen left. At this moment, a few young men flew over from the sky. As soon as the young men arrived, they were attracted by Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming was using the 9 seals of the Divine Gate. 7 sealing doors had sealed 7 demonic creatures and seized 7 demon crystals. What a powerful sealing technique! One of the young men's eyes lit up. At this moment, Lu Ming also noticed the young men in the sky. He used the sealing doors again to seal the remaining demonic creatures and seize the demon crystals. Then he moved and was about to leave. However, in the sky, the figures of the few young men flashed and surrounded Lu Ming. What can I do for you? Lu Ming asked coldly. Nothing. We think your sealing technique is good, so we want to cooperate with you. One of the young men with short hair said with a faint smile. The aura of a LV9 Martial Royal Realm was released and locked onto Lu Ming. Cooperation? I'm not interested. I prefer to be alone. Lu Ming rejected directly. After being rejected by Lu Ming, the young man with short hair said in a threatening tone, Kid, you're only an LV7 Martial Royal Realm cultivator. You'd better understand the situation. As soon as he finished speaking, his aura became stronger and formed a terrifying pressure that pressed down on Lu Ming. The threat was self-evident. At the same time, the other 3 young men also released their auras and pressed down on Lu Ming. One of them was at the peak of LV9 Martial Royal Realm, and 2 were at the peak of LV8 Martial Royal Realm. The 4 experts surrounded Lu Ming with gloomy eyes. Not far away, Yun Kai was gloating. Haha, this kid is too arrogant. Let's see how he's going to die now. Yun Shi, this has nothing to do with us. You'd better not interfere. Yun Kai sneered and reminded Yun Shi not to make a move. Yun Shi frowned. However, there were 2 people in the 9th layer of the Martial Emperor realm. Even if she wanted to help, there was nothing she could do. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He looked around and coldly spat out a word, Scram! The words caused the faces of the 4 young men to turn dark. Brett, if it weren't for the fact that you have some value, I would have slapped you to death right now. Now I'll give you 2 options. The first is to hand over the demon crystals on you and then obediently follow us and help us hunt for demon crystals. The second option is death. Which one will you choose? The short-haired youth said coldly, I choose the other two paths. Lu Ming said, Which two? The short-haired young man was stunned and asked subconsciously, First, get lost immediately. Second, you die. Lu Ming said. The four young men were startled. Kid, you dare to trick us? Die. The short-haired young man's eyes emitted an icy, murderous intent. A thunderous sword appeared in his hand as he slashed in Lu Ming's direction. Kill! Lu Ming uttered a roar as he unleashed the godly sword art to attack his opponent's soul. The short-haired young man halted his slash and uttered a roar. Whoosh! Lu Ming held the black dragon spear in his hand and nailed the short-haired young man to the ground. Since the battle was about to begin, Lu Ming would not show any mercy. He immediately executed a thunderous blow to kill his opponent. The other three were stunned. They did not expect Lu Ming to be so terrifying, killing the short-haired young man with a single attack. The short-haired young man was a 9th-layer martial dominator realm expert, 2 layers higher than Lu Ming's cultivation, but he had been killed with a single attack. It was too late when the three reacted. The 7 sealed doors appeared around them. The terrifying sealing force made it difficult for them to move. They immediately unleashed their attacks in an attempt to destroy the doors of sealing. Kill! Following this, the godly sword art was unleashed and penetrated their bodies, causing their souls to feel as if they were being torn apart. "Ah-no, spare my life!" The 3 young men screamed in terror. However, they were greeted with 3 terrifying spear glows from Lu Ming's spear. The spear glows penetrated the bodies of the 3 young men, killing them instantly. Lu Ming waved his hand and retrieved the storage rings of the 4 young men, before he glanced at Yun Kai coldly. Yun Kai's figure began to tremble as his heart turned cold, causing his face to turn pale. 4 experts, including a 9th-layer martial dominator realm expert, were instantly killed by Lu Ming without any chance to retaliate. With his strength, killing him would be a piece of cake. How is this Lu Ming so powerful? How is he so powerful? Yun Kai yelled in his heart. Lu Ming's strength was a lot stronger than the others, even though they both possessed a superior earthly spiritual body, which was difficult for him to accept. In fact, Lu Ming's strength was not much stronger than the short-haired young man's. Earlier on, the few of them had underestimated Lu Ming. Lu Ming's divine sword art and divine gate 9 seals complemented each other seamlessly. It was simply too amazing. As long as one's combat strength did not exceed Lu Ming's by too much, one would only die under Lu Ming's attacks. Lu Ming's 2 moves would not be effective against a half-saint. Lu Ming's current soul power was close to that of a half-saint. Although the godly sword art could shake a half-saint soul, it would not be so serious that the half-saint could resist it. The 9 seals of the God's Gate would also be destroyed. However, a genius with a 9th-layer martial dominator realm superior earthly spiritual body could not resist Lu Ming's 2 moves. Lu Ming could indeed kill them easily. Lu Ming glanced at Yun Kai coldly. Then he flapped his black wings and soared into the sky, leaving the place. Phew! After Lu Ming left, Yun Kai let out a long sigh. The pressure that Lu Ming gave him was too great. That brat! Yun Kai gritted his teeth. Roar! Roar! At this moment, a few demonic creatures rushed out of the valley. Yun Shi and the others gathered their thoughts and fought with the demonic creatures. There were only a few demonic creatures, so it was not difficult for them to deal with them. Soon, they had taken the demon crystals. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, there was another sound in the sky. 3 figures appeared in the sky, and a terrifying pressure pressed down on Yun Shi and the others. It's them, the geniuses of the Wan clan. Yun Kai said with a pale face. The 3 figures in the sky were the noble young men of the Wan clan and the 2 young men in purple robes. So you're from the Cloud Emperor Mountain. Now, hand over all your demon crystals. A young man in purple robes stepped out and said coldly, "What? You want to rob us of our demon crystals?" "Yin," she said angrily, "if you don't give it to us, then die. Hurry up, we don't have time to talk nonsense with you." The young man in purple robe said, "You." Yin, she was furious, but there was nothing she could do. She looked at the noble young man in fear. That noble young man was definitely a terrifying figure, and the pressure he gave her was too great. Chapter 1601. In the end, Yun Shi and the others reluctantly took out all the demon crystals and handed them to the purple-clad young man. The purple-clad young man respectfully handed them to the noble young man. The noble young man put them away and was about to leave. "Wait a minute." Yun Kai called out. The noble young man turned around, looked at Yun Kai, and said indifferently, "What? Do you want to die?" "No. It's my honor to be able to give my demon crystals to you all. I have an important piece of news to tell you all. There is one person who has at least several hundred demon crystals, or even more." Yun Kai hurriedly said, "A few hundred?" The noble young man's eyes revealed a fiery light. "Boy, who has the ability to get a few hundred demon crystals? If you lie, you are courting death. Do you understand?" A purple-clad young man said coldly, "I'm definitely not lying. Several of us can testify that that person has mastered a sealing method. He can quickly seal the demons and then seize the demon crystal. This place is filled with dense demon chi that hasn't dissipated yet. It was caused by that person just now." Yun Kai said. "Yun Kai, Yun," she scolded him. She didn't expect Yun Kai to be so despicable as to push Lu Ming out. Yun Kai's eyes flashed with a sinister light, and he didn't look at Yun Shi. "Yes, the demon chi here is indeed very dense. Who is that person?" The noble young man said, "You have all seen that person. He was with us before and was lucky enough to defeat one of you. His name is Lu Ming." Yun Kai hurriedly said, "So it's him." The noble young man's eyes flashed sharply. "You better not let me find out that you are lying to me. Tell me, which direction did he go?" "That direction." Yun Kai pointed in the direction Lu Ming had left. "Let's go," the noble young man said. He took the two purple-clad young men and chased in the direction Lu Ming had left, disappearing in the blink of an eye. "Yun Kai, you have gone too far. Lu Ming has no enmity with us. We came in together and let him leave alone. That's too much." Yun, she looked at Yun Kai with disappointment. "Humph, why are you so anxious? Could it be that you have taken a fancy to that boy?" Yun Kai sneered. "You, don't talk nonsense." Yun, she blushed. "Humph, that brat doesn't know what's good for him. He's so arrogant. I don't like him. He's just a man from the Tsang continent, yet he has to be respectful in front of Cloud Emperor Mountain. Otherwise he'll die," Yun Kai said coldly. His eyes were filled with jealousy. Yun, she sighed. She was disgusted with Yun Kai. Yun Kai was too narrow-minded. Lu Ming naturally didn't know that the Wan family's geniuses were already looking for him. He was still searching for demonic creatures and seizing demon fiend crystals. Along the way, he seized several dozen more demon fiend crystals. Right now, he already had close to 300 pieces of demon fiend crystals on him. Of course, most of them were demonic demon crystals of the 6th layer of the martial emperor realm. There were even some demonic demon crystals of the 5th layer, 8th layer, and 9th layer. If he could refine it, his soul power would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. Roar! A demonic leopard was astonishingly fast. Seeing that it was no match for him, it actually broke into a run. This was a demonic creature at the peak of the 9th layer of the martial emperor realm. How could Lu Ming let it escape? "Where do you think you're going?" Lu Ming used the wind origin technique and the black feather wings to chase after the demonic leopard. However, When the demonic leopard ran, it was like a bolt of black lightning. Lu Ming couldn't catch up with it for a while. It seems that I have to find some time to cultivate a movement technique. The wind origin technique can't keep up with me anymore. Lu Ming thought to himself. As his cultivation increased, the wind origin technique gradually became insufficient. He had to cultivate a stronger martial technique. Bubble. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bubble. Bubble's voice came from the pagoda, floating above his head. Then a transparent bubble suddenly appeared and enveloped the demonic leopard within. The demonic leopard was instantly frozen. Puff! Lu Ming rushed over. His hand was like a dragon's claw. He grabbed the demonic leopard's head and pulled out a piece of demon crystal. True essence poured in and wiped out the spirituality on the demonic crystal. At this moment, Lu Ming looked behind him. The sound of air breaking rang out as 3 figures appeared in Lu Ming's line of sight. It's them. Lu Ming frowned slightly. The 3 people who appeared were the 3 from the Wan clan. We finally found this guy. A purple-clad youth smiled. After a few breaths, the 3 from the Wan clan appeared in front of Lu Ming. 2 of the purple-clad youths flashed and surrounded Lu Ming. What? You lost one last time, and now you want someone else to fight? Lu Ming frowned and said coldly, Kid, you defeated me last time because I was careless. The purple-robed young man who had been defeated by Lu Ming previously spoke with a gloomy expression and continued, Lad, I heard that you have a large number of demon crystals in your hands and even know a sealing method. Now, hand over all your demon crystals and follow us to hunt for demon crystals. In this way, we can spare your life. They're here for my demon crystals and sealing technique. But how do these people know that I have a large amount of demon crystals? Lu Ming's eyes were cold. These people didn't see him hunting a large number of demonic creatures. I think you're mistaken. I'm alone. How can I have a large amount of demon crystals? Since I entered here, I've only obtained a few pieces. If you want it, I'll give it to you. Moreover, I don't know any sealing technique. Lu Ming said, Kid, don't try to quibble. It was said by a kid who was with you before. How can it be wrong if your own people said it? A purple-clad youth sneered. Own people. Yun Kai. Lu Ming's heart moved. He guessed that it must be Yun Kai who said it. Lu Ming's eyes flickered with a cold, murderous intent. Yun Kai had always been against him. It seemed like he would have to kill him if he had the chance. Previously, he had taken the teleportation formation of the Cloud Emperor Mountain to enter this place. Therefore, he would most likely have to pass through the Cloud Emperor Mountain to leave this place. Therefore, he had been merciful to Yun Kai. However, it seemed like it was useless to be merciful, as Yun Kai would only become more ruthless. Therefore, Lu Ming would have to eliminate him if he had the chance. Kid, now you have nothing to say. Hand it over and come with us. Help us seal the demonic creatures. A purple-clad youth snapped. All right, I'll hand it over, Lu Ming said. Saying this, a storage ring appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he threw it at the young man. The noble young man instinctively reached out to catch it. At this moment, Lu Ming made his move. He dashed toward the purple-clad youth with a cultivation of the 8th layer martial dominator realm and threw a punch at his opponent. You! The young man did not expect Lu Ming to attack all of a sudden. He let out a roar and tried his best to resist the attack. However, he was only able to unleash half of his strength in such a short time. Thus, there was no way he could resist Lu Ming's attack. The purple-clad youth was shattered into pieces under Lu Ming's punch. How bold, Dai! Chapter 1602. Buzz. A magical fluctuation was emitted from the pagoda above Lu Ming's head. Bubble made his move by encapsulating Lu Ming with the space-time domain. Lu Ming dodged the attack with a flicker. Meanwhile, the young man scanned the storage ring that Lu Ming had thrown at him with a spiritual sense and discovered that it was empty. He knew that he had been tricked by Lu Ming. Die now! A spot of light lit up in the palm of the noble young man. A combat sword flew out and slashed toward Lu Ming. That power was extremely terrifying. In the face of this sword, Lu Ming only had one thought, and that was that he was no match for it. This young man was definitely a half-martial sacred, a terrifying one at that. Whoosh! The black wings appeared and flashed rapidly. With a swoosh, Lu Ming dashed to the right, avoiding the sword gleam of the noble young man. You won't be able to escape. The young man's eyes were as cold as a saber. Lu Ming, a mere seventh-layer martial dominator, dared to trick him and kill the people of the Wan clan right in front of him. He had already sentenced Lu Ming to death in his heart. His figure seemed to have transformed into a godly weapon as he chased after Lu Ming. Buzz! At that instant, the pagoda above Lu Ming's head emitted a magical fluctuation as a space-time passage was formed. The space-time passage did not lead to the front, but to the back, where another young man in a purple robe was. Lu Ming stepped into the passage and appeared not far away from the other young man. Kill! Lu Ming yelled as the godly sword technique burst out and penetrated the young man's soul. The young man let out a cry of agony. Lu Ming took advantage of the opportunity and killed the young man in a purple robe with a punch. He then took the opportunity to rob the young man of his storage ring. Since they had become enemies, Lu Ming would not show any mercy. How bold! Seeing that Lu Ming had killed yet another purple-clad youth, the noble youth's rage soared to the heavens. His killing intent was incomparably strong. Suddenly, 8 light dots lit up on his body, and 8 weapons flew out from the 8 light dots. The terrifying battle weapon, Qi, wreaked havoc in the air. Saint weapons, all of them were saint weapons. In addition to the battle sword in front, there were 9 weapons, all of which were saint weapons. When the battle weapon Qi of the 9 holy weapons merged, their might was unimaginably terrifying. Lu Ming felt a chill run down his spine as he felt a fatal threat. Bubbles, let's go! Lu Ming's black wings flapped as he frantically retreated. Next, Bubble took action, and a space-time tunnel was formed. Lu Ming rushed in. Stay here and kill! The noble young man roared. His battle sword slashed out, creating a terrifying fluctuation in the void. Boom! The terrifying sword light slashed at the space-time tunnel, destroying space-time and destroying everything. The space-time tunnel trembled violently before collapsing. Lu Ming was only halfway through when he was blasted out of the space-time tunnel. What terrifying combat strength! Even the space-time tunnel can be destroyed. Let's go! Lu Ming executed the wind origin technique. Energy continuously poured into the air-frozen pearl. His black wings flapped wildly as Lu Ming turned into a streak of light and flew forward rapidly. Clang! Behind him, the saint weapon vibrated. The noble young man turned into a streak of sword light and chased after Lu Ming. His speed was shockingly fast, surpassing Lu Ming's speed. He was rapidly closing the distance between the two. What shocking speed! Then let me take you to a place. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. He slowly changed his direction and flew toward a large mountain. The noble young man chased after him relentlessly. In the blink of an eye, they had crossed a long distance. The distance between Lu Ming and the noble young man was getting closer and closer. You will die today. The noble young man's cold voice came from behind. You sound very confident, but how did I kill your 2 subordinates? Lu Ming's mocking voice made the noble young man's killing intent even stronger. Roar! Roar! A terrifying roar came from ahead. Demonic Qi soared into the sky. Here we are! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. When he was hunting demonic creatures, he passed by here and found that there were terrifying demonic creatures gathered. He saw a few at random and found that they were all at the half-step saint level. So he bypassed them Now he could make use of these demonic creatures to stop the noble young man. Whoosh! Lu Ming flew toward the place where the roar came from. In the next moment, a huge valley appeared in front of Lu Ming. In the valley, there were terrifying demonic creatures wandering around. They roared from time to time. Their power was shocking, and there was a faint saint aura in the air. At a glance, there were at least a dozen demonic creatures. They were all at the half-step saint level. Lu Ming rushed into the valley without hesitation. Roar! 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 Suddenly, these demonic creatures went berserk. Demonic chi billowed, and they roared like thunder. They charged toward Lu Ming. Bam! A demonic creature that looked like a giant wolf slapped Lu Ming with its paw. Lu Ming's body shattered like glass. It was a shadow. Lu Ming's body had appeared on the other side. Bubble wrapped Lu Ming in the space-time domain. Lu Ming's body flashed rapidly as if he was shuttling through space-time. He avoided the attacks of these half-step saint demonic creatures and went deeper into the valley. Do you think you can stop me with these demonic creatures? Ridiculous. Kill. The noble young man's cold voice sounded. He also rushed into the valley. 9 saint weapons circled around his body, and a terrifying battle weapon chi gathered. A sword light slashed out, and a half-saint demonic beast's body was shattered, and it turned into a cloud of rolling devil chi. Then the noble young man punched with his other hand. The noble young man's fist seemed to have turned into a divine weapon. There was nothing it couldn't break. Boom! A half-step saint demonic creature was blown away by a punch. He reached out and grabbed a piece of demon fiend crystal. How powerful! Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. The noble young man's strength was beyond his imagination. Although they were all half-step saints, those demonic creatures were no match for the noble young man. They were all killed in one move. The noble young man's every move contained the power of the law. Obviously, the noble young man had comprehended the law. There were strong and weak half-step saints. According to the realm, the half-step saint was mainly divided into 3 stages. The first stage was to comprehend the ultimate domain, which was also a half-step saint. Above the 9th domain was the ultimate domain. As long as one comprehended the ultimate domain, one would be a half-step saint. The second stage was to comprehend the power of the law. After comprehending the law, one would be much more powerful than a first-stage saint. As for the third stage, it was the ultimate domain. At this stage, one was really only half a step away from the saint realm. As long as one could condense a saint heart and convert vital essence into saint power, one would enter the saint realm. With the ultimate domain, the spiritual body's power would reach a terrifying level, far surpassing the second stage. The noble young man should be in the second stage, half-step saint. Bam! Bam! One by one, the half-step saint demonic creatures were blown apart by the noble young man. They turned into demonic chi and then condensed again. Chapter 1603. Roar! Roar! At this moment, terrifying roars came from the depths of the valley. The earth shook as more than 20 demonic creatures rushed out. They were all half-saints, and some of them were equivalent to the second stage of half-saints. But no matter if it was the first or second stage of half-saints, they were all killed in one move by the noble youth. This person's combat strength was too strong. It had reached a terrifying level. With the help of Bubble, Lu Ming avoided the attacks of the demonic creatures and went deeper into the valley. Roar! An earth-shattering roar came out, and a demonic aura soared into the sky. Bang! Bang! Heavy footsteps could be heard as a huge creature walked out of the valley. It was a demonic bear. It was 100 meters tall, like a small mountain. Every step it took made the ground rumble. Roar! The demonic bear roared, and the wind howled. Terrifying saint aura spread out. Saint realm. This demonic bear was a genuine saint realm existence. The demonic bear slapped at Lu Ming. Not good. Lu Ming frantically retreated to the side of the valley. At the same time, a sacred weapon shield was placed in front of him. The black feather wings protected his body, and Bubble's space-time domain was added to Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming seemed to have traveled through time and space as he retreated. Boom! As the demonic bear's palm slammed down, the Bubble's space-time domain kept crumbling. In the end, it slammed into the sacred weapon shield. Then, the sacred weapon shield slammed into the black wings. Lu Ming felt like he had been hit by a mountain. His body was like a cannonball, and he crashed into the wall of the valley. With a boom, he hit the wall, and debris flew everywhere. Puff! Lu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was pale. The existence of the Saint Realm was too terrifying. Lu Ming was too far away from it. Even with Bubble's help, he couldn't avoid it. The space-time domain collapsed. However, the space-time domain blocked a large part of the demonic bear's power. Then, with the Saint weapon shield and black wings, Lu Ming wasn't seriously injured. Is this the power of the Saint Realm? As the #1 genius of the Tsangzhou state, how powerful would the divine child be when he breaks through to the Saint Realm? A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind as he felt an immense pressure. He didn't have much time left. There was less than a year and a half left until the next treasure pedestal meeting. He had to make breakthroughs as fast as possible during this period of time. Roar! After the demonic bear sent Lu Ming flying with a slap, it was as if it had swatted away a fly. After that, it no longer paid any attention to Lu Ming and charged towards the noble youth. In its eyes, the noble young man was the bigger threat. The demonic bear stomped on the ground and swept its mountain-like paw towards the noble youth. So what if you're in the Saint Realm? Fight! The noble young man roared. His battle intent soared as his hair danced in the wind. His battle prowess was pushed to the limit. The aura of the 9 saint weapons gathered on the battle sword in his hand. He slashed out a resplendent sword light. Boom! The sword light and the demonic bear's paw clashed together, causing a terrifying boom. Horrifying energy overflowed and sent several half-saint demonic beasts flying, causing them to explode in the air. It was truly shocking. Just the aftermath alone was enough to scatter half-saint demonic beasts. Bang! 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 After the boom, the noble young man's body trembled. He stepped into the void and retreated 8 or 9 steps. The demonic bear's towering body was as still as a mountain. After all, the noble young man was no match for the Saint Realm demonic beasts. It was too difficult for a non-saint saint to fight a saint. The gap was too big. Roar! The demonic bear roared and continued to step forward, slapping at the noble young man. The noble young man's aura grew stronger and stronger. 3 more light spots lit up in his body, and 3 more saint weapons flew out. A total of 12 saint weapons floated around him. The aura of the saint weapons was extremely powerful. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in the void above the noble young man's head. Countless weapons danced in the air within the shadow. It was a mysterious sight to behold. This is the vision of heaven and earth. This person really has a heavenly spiritual body. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Legend had it that the heavenly spiritual body was a person who was blessed by the heavens. It was extremely terrifying. Once they exerted their strength to the extreme, a vision of heaven and earth would appear in the sky. No wonder the heavenly spiritual body was so powerful. A superior earthly spiritual body was considered a prodigy, but compared to a heavenly spiritual body, it was a far cry. A heavenly spiritual body was blessed by the heavens. As long as they didn't die, they would have a chance to become an emperor. It was absolutely terrifying. In the younger generation of the Tsang state, there was no one with a heavenly spiritual body. Even the #1 deity in the Tsang state only had a superior earthly spiritual body. This noble young man was a prodigy who was more talented than the deity. It was just that his cultivation wasn't as strong as his body. Kill! The noble young man shouted. Around him, 11 saint weapons whizzed out and charged at the demonic bear. As for himself, he held a battle sword and charged at the demonic bear. Boom! 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 After a few consecutive blows, the noble young man was still at a disadvantage, but he was able to withstand the demonic bear's attack. A non-saint had the ability to fight a saint-level expert. It showed how terrifying a heavenly spiritual body was. Roar! 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 At this time, more half-saint demonic creatures rushed out and wandered around, but they couldn't get close to the battle. A huge demonic tiger charged at Lu Ming. Let's fight! This time, Lu Ming didn't dodge. Instead, he charged at the demonic tiger. The demonic tiger opened its bloody mouth and tried to swallow Lu Ming. Its mouth was so huge that it could swallow a house. Lu Ming didn't dodge and rushed into the demonic tiger's mouth. The moment he rushed in, Lu Ming's body entered the mountain and river diagram. Only the mountain and river diagram appeared in the demonic tiger's mouth. The mountain and river diagram was a treasure refined by an emperor-level expert. Even if it was swallowed by the demonic tiger, it was fine. Lu Ming spread out his spiritual consciousness and paid attention to the battle outside. At this time, the noble young man had already exchanged more than 10 blows with the demonic bear. He was gradually losing and was completely at a disadvantage. He was swallowed by the demonic tiger. The noble young man naturally saw the scene of Lu Ming being swallowed by the demonic tiger. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. He didn't believe that Lu Ming would die so easily. He guessed that he was hiding in the demonic tiger's body to avoid the other demonic creatures. Indeed, when Lu Ming entered the demonic tiger's body, the other demonic creatures all turned their attention to the noble young man. They surrounded the noble young man and stared at him covetously. Humph! Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you're hiding in a demonic creature's body. I'll kill you all the same. The noble young man's eyes were filled with killing intent. He was determined to kill Lu Ming. Go! He raised his hand, and among the 12 sacred weapons, a shield and a small mountain, rushed toward the demonic bear. His body flashed and rushed toward the demonic tiger that had swallowed Lu Ming. Chapter 1604. Roar! The demonic tiger roared and pounced at the noble youth. However, the noble youth slashed out with a sword, and the demonic tiger's body collapsed, turning into a cloud of demonic chi. However, at this moment, the noble youth's pupils constricted. 2 figures appeared in the demonic chi. The 2 figures looked exactly the same. There were 2 Lu Ming. Of course, they were Lu Ming's overgod and second body. Suddenly, a transparent bubble appeared on the noble youth's body and enveloped him. Space-time domain? Break! The noble youth roared. His body glowed, and a terrifying aura of a battle weapon rushed out. With a bang, the transparent bubble was shattered. However, at this moment, 8 sealed doors appeared around him. Each of them emitted a dazzling light and a terrifying sealing power. They were about to seal the noble youth. Previously, Lu Ming had been using the 9 seals of the God's Gate continuously. Unknowingly, the 9 seals of the God's Gate had broken through and could condense 8 sealed doors at once. Kill! At this moment, Lu Ming's main body roared. 2 terrifying sword rays shot out from his eyes and rushed into the noble youth's body, causing his body to tremble. Tai Chi! At this moment, Ming Lian's second body whispered. A Tai Chi disc floated above his head, and a huge Tai Chi pattern appeared, suppressing the noble youth. The Tai Chi disc contained a terrifying destructive and suppressive power. Break! 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 The noble youth roared. With a sword in one hand and a spear in the other, he attacked in all directions. Bang! Bang! The 8 sealed doors continued to crumble. At this moment, the Tai Chi pattern pressed down, causing the noble youth's body to tremble violently. The The true yuan that covered his body trembled. His body stiffened in the air. Roar! At this moment, the demonic bear had already arrived. It swung its paw at the noble young man. The slap landed directly on the noble youth's body. The noble youth screamed as his body was sent flying. He crashed heavily into the side of the valley, creating a huge crater. Bang! However, in the next moment, the noble youth rushed out of the crater. However, at this moment, he was in an extremely sorry state. His clothes were tattered, revealing a golden armor underneath. His face was pale, and he couldn't help but spit out another mouthful of blood. Just now, he was struck by the power of the Taiji diagram and slapped by the demonic bear. In the end, he was still heavily injured. Brat, don't let me see you again. Otherwise, I'll make you wish you were dead. The noble young man let out an unwilling roar, then turned into a beam of light, shot into the sky, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The demonic bear did not give chase. This guy is really strong. Also, my soul force is still too weak. Lu Ming pondered. The series of attacks just now had failed to kill the noble young man. He used the divine sword art to attack the other party's soul. Although the other party was affected, he still retained a lot of strength, which was why he was able to escape. Otherwise, he would have been directly injured by the demonic bear's slap. Lu Ming's current soul power was equivalent to the first stage of a half-saint. For a half-saint who had comprehended the law, it didn't have much of an impact. Roar! At this moment, the demonic bear looked at Lu Ming with a tyrannical glint in its eyes. Buzz! At this moment, a buzzing sound came from behind Lu Ming, and the bloodline of the prison-suppressing steel appeared. The prison-suppressing steel specialized in suppressing evil spirits. Could it suppress these demonic creatures? Lu Ming decided to give it a try. The prison-suppressing steel expanded rapidly, emitting a dazzling light. Especially the word at the bottom, the light was even brighter. Roar! The demonic bear had a look of awe in its eyes. Then it actually took off and rushed into the depths of the valley. The half-saint demonic creatures did the same. They all ran into the depths of the valley and disappeared. They really ran away. Lu Ming's face revealed a trace of a smile. The reason why he didn't summon the prison-suppressing steel before was that he was afraid of scaring away these demonic creatures. If that happened, who would help him block the noble young man? This valley has gathered so many powerful demonic creatures. There must be a secret. Let's go in and take a look. Lu Ming thought. Anyway, with the prison-suppressing steel to deter those demonic creatures, Lu Ming became bolder. Ming Lian's second body stepped out and disappeared between Lu Ming's eyebrows. It disappeared and went to cultivate in peace. Now that Ming Lian's second body was progressing very quickly, and he was getting closer and closer to igniting the ninth spirit lamp, he naturally had to seize the time to cultivate. The prison-suppressing steel floated above Lu Ming's head as he walked into the depths of the valley. The deeper he went, the larger and wider the valley became. So many bones. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes focused. He found that there were many bones in the valley ahead. These bones were of different shapes. Some were incomparably huge, like small hills, and some are very small. But each bone was as white as jade and emitted a fluorescent light. It could be seen that they were incomparably powerful existences when they were alive. Lu Ming restrained his aura and continued to move forward. In front of him, what came into view were bones of all kinds. In ancient times, there was a war of the 100 races. Could this be the burial ground of the 100 races? And those demonic creatures were mutated from these experts after they died? Lu Ming secretly guessed, because the spiritual essence on these bones had been severely drained. Some of the bones had completely turned into dust. Obviously, they had gone through a long period of time. Lu Ming saw a huge human skeleton. This skeleton was very strange. It was actually golden, and the bones were 7 to 8 meters long. Could this be the legendary Golden Giant? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The giant clan was real, and the Golden Giant was the royal clan of the giants. It was extremely terrifying and was a natural warrior. Could this be the skeleton of a Qilin? In the next moment, Lu Ming saw a skeleton that looked very much like the legendary Qilin. Unfortunately, the spiritual essence on these bones had almost been drained, and they were no longer valuable. If the spiritual essence had not been drained, then the value of these bones would be amazing. Strange, in the War of the 100 Races, there would not be so many bones piled up together. They should be scattered everywhere. Could it be that someone specially gathered these corpses here? Lu Ming guessed. Then, are there any dragon bones here? Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. In the War of the 100 Races, the dragon clan was most likely involved. If he could find some dragon bones, his dragon god battle body would be able to evolve. If he could break through the category of the earth's spiritual body and evolve to the low-level heaven's spiritual body, then Lu Ming's strength would skyrocket. Let's look for it. Lu Ming suddenly became excited. Although these bones had lost a lot of spiritual essence, as long as there was enough, it could still allow Lu Ming's dragon god battle body to evolve. Chapter 1605. Roar, roar, roar. All around, the roars of demonic creatures kept coming. But because of the prison-suppressing steel, these demonic creatures all stayed far away from Lu Ming. So many powerful demonic creatures, more than one Saint Realm demonic creature. Lu Ming sensed his surroundings and was secretly shocked. Here, he sensed several terrifying demonic creatures exuding powerful saint aura. Fortunately, he had the prison-suppressing steel to deter these demonic creatures. Otherwise, he would not have been able to walk in at all and would have been killed by the demonic creatures. That's a dragon bone. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he strode forward. A skeleton that was hundreds of meters long was lying on the ground, with 5 dragon claws under its abdomen. If it was not the skeleton of a real dragon, what was it? Lu Ming was overjoyed. There really was a dragon bone here. Sure enough, the loss of spiritual essence is very serious. Lu Ming walked to the side of the dragon bone, carefully sensed it, and sighed slightly. Although this dragon bone was very large, there was not much spiritual essence left, and it would be difficult for his dragon god battle body to evolve. There should be more than one dragon bone here. Look again. Lu Ming began to search around. This place was very large, covered with bones, and the sky was filled with a faint demonic qi blocking vision. Lu Ming could only search slowly. Sure enough, not long after, Lu Ming found another dragon bone, which also had a serious loss of spiritual essence. Lu Ming dragged this dragon bone to the previous one and put the 2 dragon bones together. Then he continued to search. Half a day later, Lu Ming found a total of 10 huge dragon bones. These dragon bones were definitely above the Saint Realm when they were alive, or even stronger than the Bright Saint Realm. But they all died in battle. After finding 10 dragon bones, Lu Ming walked around again, but did not find any new dragon bones. It seems that there are only these dragon bones here. 10 dragon bones should be enough. Lu Ming's eyes were full of anticipation, and he returned to the place where the dragon bones were piled. The 10 dragon bones were piled together like a small mountain. Immediately, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged. His devouring power erupted and enveloped the pile of dragon bones. He devoured the spiritual essence within the dragon bones and began to cultivate the dragon god battle body. This was the most suitable place to cultivate. The prison-suppressing steel floated in the air, and those demonic creatures did not dare to come close. As for other martial artists, they definitely could not enter. It was the perfect place for seclusion. The essence of the dragon bone was constantly being devoured and refined by the power of swallowing, seeping into Lu Ming's spirit body. Lu Ming's body emitted a faint glow, and faint dragon roars could be heard. The spiritual essence of the dragon bone continued to gather in Lu Ming's body, seeping into the depths of his physical body. As long as it accumulated to a certain level, Lu Ming's spirit body would undergo a qualitative change, achieving an upgrade and stepping into a higher level. Just like that, Lu Ming cultivated wholeheartedly. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Roar! A dragon's roar shook the 9 heavens, emanating from Lu Ming's body. The 10 true dragon bones were shaken by the dragon's roar, and immediately turned into ashes and scattered on the ground. The spiritual essence of the dragon bones had been completely absorbed by Lu Ming, and these dragon bones naturally turned into powder. Roar! At this time, the dragon's roar in Lu Ming's body grew louder and louder. Finally, in the void above Lu Ming's head, a huge phantom of 9 dragons appeared. The 9 dragons stepped on the void, roaming the outer space. Heaven and Earth Vision. The appearance of the Heaven and Earth Vision meant that Lu Ming's spirit body had officially entered the ranks of the heavenly spirit body. Whoosh! Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes. His body soared into the air and he punched out. A terrifying fist force, accompanied by an ear-piercing whistle, blasted toward a demonic creature not far away. This demonic creature was directly sent flying by the fist force, and it slid a few hundred meters on the ground. Such power! A smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. That demonic creature had the strength of a stage 1 half-saint. It was an ordinary demonic creature, but it was sent flying by Lu Ming's punch. Lu Ming's cultivation was still at the peak of the 7th level martial royal realm, but his combat strength had been greatly improved. He was much stronger than before. The heavenly spirit body was not comparable to the earthly spirit body at all. Whoosh! Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed toward the demonic creature. The prison-suppressing steel suppressed it. The demonic creature screamed, turned around, and ran away. Well, forget it. These demonic creatures don't dare to fight me when I use the prison-suppressing steel here. But once I put it away, these demonic creatures will attack me together. Lu Ming was somewhat depressed. He had wanted to see if he could seize some demonic demon crystals of the half-saint level, but it seemed that he had to give up. It's been half a month. It's time to leave. I can't just hide in one place and cultivate. Lu Ming thought, and then walked out of the valley. He had enough demon fiend crystals on him, enough to use for some time. Soon he came out of the valley and put away the prison-suppressing steel. He spread his black wings and flew toward the exit of this area. On the way, he found some other people who were still hunting for demonic demon crystals here. Lu Ming did not stop. He spread his black wings and flew past the ground below at an astonishing speed. Soon Lu Ming saw the exit. It was the crack that he had entered from. Lu Ming directly flew out of the crack. Just as Lu Ming flew out of the crack, his pupils constricted. He sensed a terrifying danger descending upon him all of a sudden. Whoosh! A slight wave was directed at Lu Ming's throat. The terrible sharpness made Lu Ming's muscles tense up. Boom! Without the slightest hesitation, Lu Ming threw an uppercut upward. Boom! This punch seemed to have hit a long sword. With a hum, the long sword was deflected by Lu Ming's punch. However, the terrifying sharpness still left a bloody mark on Lu Ming's neck. Moreover, there were strands of terrifying sword qi that followed Lu Ming's fist and poured into Lu Ming's arm. Lu Ming's arm muscles trembled and destroyed the sword qi. Whoosh! Whoosh! The slight sound of air being torn apart sounded again. The terrifying sharpness was directed at Lu Ming's vital points. Retreat! Lu Ming's figure retreated rapidly. He retreated from the crack and returned to the world below, standing in the void. People from the Thousand Slayer Manor. A sharp light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. The assassins from the Thousand Slayer Manor had finally found him. You must die for killing people from my Thousand Slayer Manor. A cold voice rang out. Two figures appeared in front of Lu Ming. They were both dressed in black and exuded a cold, murderous intent as well as a faint aura of sage. Half-saint. The two black-clothed figures were actually half-saint existences. The Thousand Slayer Manor really thinks highly of me. They actually sent out two half-saints. Lu Ming said, "That's why no one can escape from my Thousand Slayer Manor." One of the black-clothed figures said coldly. Chapter 1606. Let's do it. The black dragon's spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand and the black wings spread out. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with intense battle intent. From the aura of the two assassins, it was obvious that they were first-stage half-saints who had grasped the ultimate domain. Lu Ming's spiritual body had just finished evolving, becoming an inferior heaven spiritual body. He wanted to test his battle prowess. Before his spiritual body evolved, Lu Ming was confident that he could fight an ordinary first-stage half-saint. What was an ordinary first-stage half-saint? It was an ordinary spiritual body, or an inferior earth spiritual body that had broken through to the half-saint realm. However, the two assassins in front of him clearly had superior earth spiritual bodies. Their battle prowess was not something an ordinary half-saint could compare to. There's no need for the two of us to work together to kill a seventh-stage martial king like you. I alone am enough. One of the black-clothed assassins stepped forward. A sword as thin as a cicada's wing was faintly discernible in his hand. As for the other assassin, he stood in the air without moving. Whoosh! The black-robed man in front of him moved. With a single movement, his figure disappeared in the air without leaving a trace. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air came from behind Lu Ming. A sharp sword light pierced toward Lu Ming's back. What a fast speed! The assassin had just moved, and he had already appeared behind Lu Ming. Such a terrifying assassination technique was indeed shocking. Buzz! The black dragon's spear shook and swept behind. However, when the black dragon's spear swept past, the sharp intent disappeared. In the next moment, a sharp intent appeared in front of Lu Ming. Before the terrifying sword chi could reach Lu Ming, it felt like it was going to tear Lu Ming apart. Whoosh! Lu Ming controlled the black wings and slashed forward like a heavenly blade. However, just like before, the black wings slashed through the air. The assassin had already disappeared in front of him. The assassin's speed was too fast. When he attacked, he was as fast as lightning. He could attack Lu Ming from all directions at any time. Whoosh! Whoosh! Air-piercing sounds could be heard all of a sudden. They seemed to be attacking Lu Ming from all directions. For a moment, Lu Ming did not know which side was real and which was fake. Sweep! Lu Ming used the most overbearing method and swept the black dragon spear in all directions. However, when the spear swept past, there was no one. The assassination techniques of the Thousand Slayer Manor are indeed marvelous. However, they can hide their bodies, but not their souls. He then closed his eyes and released his spiritual senses to sense the other party's soul fluctuations. Over there! Suddenly, Lu Ming sensed an obscure soul fluctuation. Without any hesitation, he became one with his spear and charged in that direction. Clang! The sound of metal clashing could be heard as a black figure emerged and retreated in the void. You're only a 7th layer martial dominator, but your soul force is pretty strong. You were able to locate me through the ripples of my soul. The black-robed man spoke, seeming a little surprised. Your concealment technique is useless against me. Lu Ming said, Haha, I was just testing my strength. Since my concealment technique is useless, I'll kill you head-on. The assassin laughed coldly. His murderous intent grew stronger. Whoosh! The man in black moved and pounced on Lu Ming. He was as fast as a black stream of light, leaving behind a series of afterimages. The terrifying sword Aura cut through the void and pierced toward Lu Ming. Since concealment was not enough, he would attack head-on. Lu Ming showed no fear. The roar of a dragon could be heard from his body as he stabbed forward with the spear in his hand. Clang! The spear and the sword clashed. Lu Ming could feel a terrifying destructive force from his opponent's sword, which surged toward him along the black dragon spear. Lu Ming circulated his true force and chaotic domain to resist the force. The two figures backed away at the same time. Ultimate sky-shattering domain. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. His opponent's domain had surpassed the 9th grade domain and reached the ultimate domain. Furthermore, it was the sky-shattering domain with a shocking, penetrating force. Kill! The man in black retreated and once again charged toward Lu Ming. Sword gleams filled the sky as if many stars were shining. Lu Ming's spear vibrated, stabbing out spear shadows that constantly collided with his opponent. Dense sounds of collision rang out. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged dozens of blows. Whoosh! The assassin retreated rapidly like a phantom. He looked at Lu Ming with astonishment in his eyes. Clearly, he didn't expect Lu Ming's combat strength to be so terrifying. The other assassin who was watching the battle from afar also revealed a grave expression. Is that all you've got? That's all you've got. Lu Ming sneered. You actually have a heaven spiritual body. Could it be that you can kill a genius of my 1,000-slayer manner? But your cultivation is too weak. If your cultivation was 1 or 2 levels higher, I wouldn't be your opponent. But now you still have to die. The assassin said coldly. The sword in his hand emitted a strange black light. 1,000-slaying sword art, 10-step slash. Whoosh! The assassin's figure instantly crossed the void. The terrifying sword light was like a flying immortal. In an instant, he slashed out 10 times. The power of each slash was extremely terrifying. This was a terrifying killing technique that could kill with a single slash. Lu Ming's expression turned grave. His muscles bulged, and the black dragon spear in his hand seemed to have transformed into a black dragon that roared out. Clang! Clang! A series of collisions erupted. Terrifying sword chi flowed along the spear and surged into Lu Ming's body. However, they were all destroyed by Lu Ming's powerful physical body. 1,000 slaying sword art, 100 extermination. The terrifying sword light appeared again, even more shocking than before. 1 slash and 100 people were exterminated. Lu Ming roared. His battle intent soared into the sky as he fought with his opponent. Pucci! A sword wound appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. However, under Lu Ming's powerful spiritual body, it quickly healed. To be honest, the assassin's strength was indeed shocking. Most importantly, his cultivation was much higher than Lu Ming's. Lu Ming's cultivation was at the peak of the 7th layer martial royal realm, while his opponent's cultivation was only at the 1st stage half-saint realm. The difference between the peak of the 9th layer martial royal realm and the half-saint realm was not as simple as 1 layer. Therefore, the difference between the 1st stage half-saint realm and the 7th layer martial royal realm was too great. If his opponent was an ordinary half-saint, Lu Ming would be able to surpass him. However, his opponent was also a genius with a superior earthly spiritual body. After exchanging 100 blows, Lu Ming was still at a disadvantage. Not enough, far from enough. Lu Ming groaned in his heart. This kind of pressure was far from enough for him to unleash his full potential in a battle of life and death. He needed the kind of pressure that was close to death to unleash his potential and allow him to achieve a breakthrough quickly. Is this all you've got? How dare you say you're going to kill me? Ridiculous. Both of you, come at me together. Lu Ming let out a roar as his battle intent grew stronger. How is this possible? The assassin found it hard to believe. With his cultivation of the half-saint realm, he could not even kill a 7th layer martial royal realm. Even if his opponent had a heavenly spiritual body, His combat strength could not be so strong that he could surpass so many levels to fight with him. Chapter 16:07. Attack together! The black-clothed man roared. Swish! The other black-clothed man who was watching the battle moved and pounced towards Lu Ming. His sword light cut through the void, and the terrifying sharpness seemed to want to tear Lu Ming apart. This person's cultivation was stronger than the previous black-clothed man. He was not far from the second stage of the half-step saint realm and comprehending the laws. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. The divine sword art turned into a rolling sound wave and rushed out, slowing down the opponent's sword. At the same time, Lu Ming stabbed out with his spear and blocked the opponent's sword. 1,000 killing sword art, 1,000 miles of sky. The first black-clothed man once again displayed a terrifying killing technique. Thousands of sword light bloomed from his hand, and the sword chi whistled in the sky. It was extremely terrifying. As the first black-clothed man slashed out with his sword, the sword light in the sky turned into a single ray and slashed towards Lu Ming. Danger! At this moment, Lu Ming felt a fatal danger. The sword light was too fast. It was so fast that Lu Ming couldn't block it, even if he wanted to. Swish! His first reaction was to use the black wings to block in front of him. The opponent's sword light directly pierced the black wings. Sizzle! An ear-piercing sound rang out as sparks flew in all directions. His opponent's long sword actually pierced through the primal chaos domain covering the black wings. The black wings trembled as if they were about to be pierced through. Swish! Lu Ming retreated rapidly. To his shock, he discovered that there was indeed a small dent on the black wings. The black wings had been pierced. Even a saint weapon could be damaged. This showed how terrifying the opponent's attack was. Yes, this is the feeling. Lu Ming wasn't shocked. Instead, he was happy. This was the feeling he wanted, the feeling of being in danger. Swish! At this moment, the second black-clothed man also launched a terrifying attack towards him. Then, the first black-clothed man continued to attack Lu Ming. Dragon roars resounded. The black dragon spear in Lu Ming's hand danced and swept in all directions as he fought with the two black-clothed men. Facing the two black-clothed men, Lu Ming was completely at a disadvantage. However, Lu Ming didn't ask Bubble for help, nor did he call out his second body. He didn't even use the chaotic flipping sky seal, because what Lu Ming wanted was to stimulate his own potential when he was in danger. If he were to call out Bubbles or his second body to help, how would he be able to force himself to stimulate his potential? In the end, Lu Ming simply put away the black feather wings and fought with the black dragon spear alone. 1,000 killing sword art, 1,000 miles of sky. 1,000 killing sword art, 1,000 miles of sky. At this moment, the two black-robed men simultaneously used their strongest killing moves. Sword chi filled the sky, transforming into two terrifying sword lights. One attacked Lu Ming from the front, while the other attacked Lu Ming from behind. This was a killing move, an incomparably terrifying killing move. At this moment, Lu Ming felt a chill in his heart. He felt a terrifying sense of danger enveloping him. At this moment, he even wanted to call out Bubbles or his second body for help. However, this thought was quickly rejected by him. He wanted to rely on himself to avoid this killing move. At this moment, Lu Ming's essence, energy, and spirit were highly concentrated. His pupils were about to shrink to a point. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming's mind seemed to rumble and explode. His spirit seemed to have fused with nature. At this moment, everything in the world seemed to have slowed down. He saw the 2,000 killer's manners fatal, swords approaching him. Swish! At this moment, Lu Ming took a step forward and disappeared from his original spot. The sword lights of the two assassins collided with each other. With a terrifying rumble, the two assassins' bodies shook violently. They both retreated with blood flowing out from the corners of their mouths. They were somewhat in disbelief. How could Lu Ming escape from their killing moves? Ethereal life and death realm. This is the ethereal life and death realm. Kill! Lu Ming muttered. Then, with a loud shout, the primal chaos domain erupted. Lu Ming charged at the two assassins. The ethereal life and death realm was a miraculous realm. Some cultivators would enter this realm due to their high concentration when facing the threat of death. This was the ethereal life and death realm. This realm was like an epiphany. The cultivator's spirit fused with heaven and earth. Their comprehension of the grand Tao of heaven and earth would increase greatly. At this moment, Lu Ming's comprehension of the primal chaos domain seemed to skyrocket. Boom! Boom! The black dragon spear in Lu Ming's hand turned into two resplendent spear lights. On top of them, the primal chaos domain was as heavy as a mountain. The spear lights pierced the swords of the two assassins. The two assassins' bodies shook and flew back. Lu Ming opened his eyes. His eyes were incomparably bright. Level 8 primal chaos domain. Lu Ming muttered. He was somewhat surprised. In that instant, he had entered the ethereal life and death realm. His primal chaos domain had actually broken through and entered the 8th level. The effect of the ethereal life and death realm was truly shocking. No wonder so many geniuses entered the 100-race battlefield to find people to fight. Walking on the edge of life and death, one's improvement was truly great. Unfortunately, the ethereal life and death realm couldn't be maintained for long. In a few breaths, one would walk out of that state. Otherwise, how fast would one's improvement be? He broke through. The two assassins from the Thousand Slayer Manor emitted intense killing intent. They wanted to kill Lu Ming, but they didn't expect that Lu Ming's potential would be stimulated and he would break through under their siege. So what if he broke through? He still has to die. Kill! One of the assassins shouted coldly. His killing intent was as cold as a blade. It's time for this battle to end, Lu Ming said coldly. His glabella shone, and Ming Lian's second body stepped out. A Tai Chi disc floated above his head. 2, no, it's 1. The two assassins' eyes narrowed. Buzz! The Tai Chi disc shone, and a Tai Chi pattern appeared, suppressing one of the assassins. Lu Ming's main body charged towards the other assassin. In Lu Ming's hand, a chaotic sky seal appeared and rapidly expanded. In the end, the chaotic sky seal grew to the size of a small mountain and suppressed the assassin. Its terrifying aura completely locked onto the other party. 1,000 slaying sword art, 1,000 miles of sky. The assassin roared and executed his ultimate move. He executed a resplendent sword, wanting to break through the chaotic sky seal. But when his sword light slashed on the chaotic sky seal, his sword light directly shattered. He retreated frantically and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. Retreat! The assassin roared and retreated frantically. Lu Ming's combat strength was terrifyingly strong. He actually didn't use his full strength earlier. Now that he unleashed his full strength, the power was shocking. Retreat? Where can you retreat to? Lu Ming said coldly. Buzz! A huge chaotic sky seal formed above the assassin's head. It emitted a vast and terrifying aura. Its power was even stronger than the previous chaotic sky seal. Chapter 1608. Bang! The mountain-like, primal, chaos-flipping seal crushed down onto the assassin. No! The assassin let out a roar and tried his best to resist, but it was to no avail. The giant seal crushed the assassin's body and destroyed his soul. The other assassin's expression changed tremendously. He tried to break out of the encirclement, but there was nothing he could do. The Tai Chi formation disc was a treasure on par with a monarch weapon. It contained a terrifying heaven-earth formation, which was used to refine his second body. The longer he was in possession of the second body, the stronger its power would be as he continued to study it. The assassin could barely protect himself within the Tai Chi formation disc. He was already injured, let alone trying to break out of the encirclement. After killing one of the assassins, Lu Ming headed toward the remaining assassin. Bang! The primal chaos flipping seal was executed, and the outcome was obvious. The Thousand Killers sect will never forgive you. The assassin let out a roar as he was about to die. His soul was then destroyed by the primal chaos flipping seal. With a wave of his hand, Lu Ming grabbed the storage rings of the two assassins. My primal chaos domain has reached the 8th grade. I should find a place to cultivate and improve my cultivation to the 8th layer martial dominator realm. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He flicked his fingers, and 2 balls of flames flew out, burning the bodies of the 2 assassins in black into ashes. He then spread his black wings and dashed out of the crack. After flying for a while, Lu Ming dashed into a huge mountain and entered the mountain river map. Lu Ming took out a pile of origin stones and began to refine them to improve his cultivation. A few days later, Lu Ming's cultivation had successfully improved to the early stage of the 8th layer martial dominator realm. Let's see if there's anything good in their storage rings. Lu Ming took out a few storage rings, which belonged to the purple-robed young man of the Wan clan and the assassins of the Thousand Killers sect. Lu Ming first checked the storage rings of the assassins of the Thousand Killers sect. There are quite a lot of treasures here. Unfortunately, there's no cultivation technique of the Thousand Killers sect. After Lu Ming did a check, he was a little excited, but also a little regretful. The spatial rings of the Thousand Killers Manor's assassins were filled with treasures. The 2 half-saints of the Thousand Killers Manor actually had more than 15 saint weapons in their spatial rings. It was even more than the sacred weapons that Lu Ming and the others had obtained from the Dragon Palace's treasury. But thinking about it, it was normal. These 2 assassins from the Thousand Slayer Manor had killed countless geniuses in the 100 race battlefield. Moreover, those who entered the 100 race battlefield were all geniuses from various Emperor-level forces. Each of them would more or less have a saint weapon on them. It wasn't strange for the 2 assassins from the Thousand Slayer Manor to have so many saint weapons in their storage rings. However, Lu Ming was very interested in the cultivation techniques of the Thousand Slayers Manor. Their assassination techniques were incomparably shocking, able to kill people in an instant. Sadly, he didn't manage to see it. After that, Lu Ming took out the storage ring of the purple-clad young man from the Wan clan. There were also 2 saint weapons in the storage ring of the purple-clad young man from the Wan clan. Of course, the thing that moved Lu Ming's heart the most was a jade token in a box. 10,000 weapons art. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The Wan clan's cultivation technique was even more amazing. It could actually seal saint weapons and spiritual weapons in one's body. When the chi of battle weapons converged, the power would be incomparably terrifying. Lu Ming immediately started to seriously look at it. Amazing, amazing, truly amazing. After a long while, Lu Ming finished looking at it and sighed. The Wan clan's 10,000 weapons art was indeed amazing. It could seal saint weapons and spiritual weapons in one's body. When the weapons were in the body, the chi of battle weapons would converge and release a terrifying power. Moreover, every time a weapon was sealed, the power would increase, and there would be no end to it. There were 360 major acupoints in one's body and countless smaller acupoints. If all of them were sealed in weapons, how terrifying would the power be? The higher the level of the weapon sealed, the stronger the power. Of course, sealing weapons into acupoints had a high requirement on one's body. The stronger one's spiritual body and the higher one's cultivation. The more saint weapons one could seal, and the higher the level. The 2 purple-robed youths from the Wan clan could only seal sovereign-level spirit weapons. One of them had sealed 18 sovereign-level spirit weapons. Clearly, the purple-robed youth's body was not strong enough. If he forcefully sealed the saint weapons, the power of the saint weapons would probably cause his body to explode. However, just sealing 18 emperor weapons was already terrifying. Even Yun Shi, who had a saint weapon, was not a match for him. As for the noble youth, he was even more terrifying. He had directly sealed 12 saint weapons, and no one knew if there were more. However, the noble youth had a spiritual body, and his cultivation had reached the second stage of the half-saint realm. It was not surprising that he could seal 12 saint weapons. Moreover, there was an extremely harsh condition to cultivate the 10,000 weapons art. One had to cultivate the 10,000 weapons domain to be able to cultivate the 10,000 weapons art. The 10,000 weapons domain was a terrifying domain. This domain could transform a domain into different weapon domains, such as a sword domain, a saber domain, a spear domain, and so on. Otherwise, it would be impossible to merge so many different weapons. If one did not cultivate the 10,000 weapons domain, they would not be able to cultivate the 10,000 weapons art. It was no wonder that the Wan clan was so assured to carry the 10,000 weapons art with them. Even if others obtained it, they would not be able to cultivate it. However, a smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. The 10,000 weapons domain? Lu Ming cultivated the primal chaos domain, not to mention transforming various weapon domains. Lu Ming could transform all of them except for a few peak domains. Naturally, he could also transform various weapon domains. The 10,000 weapons art was simply too suitable for Lu Ming. Lu Ming immediately began to carefully comprehend it. After cultivating the 10,000 weapons art, Lu Ming would have one more technique. 2 days later, Lu Ming finished his comprehension and the black dragon spear appeared in his hand. Lu Ming began to seal the sacred weapon into his acupoints. Currently, Lu Ming's spiritual body was a heavenly spiritual body. Furthermore, it contained a trace of primal chaos chi, which was stronger than a heavenly spiritual body of the same level. He was confident that it would not be a problem to merge it with the sacred weapon. Acupoints open. Immediately, Lu Ming activated the 10,000 weapons art. On his right palm, there was a dot of light emitting a bright glow. That was a major acupoint on his right palm. The human body had 360 major acupoints that covered the entire body. Seal. Following this, Lu Ming shouted. The black dragon spear rapidly shrank and entered the acupoint on Lu Ming's palm. Immediately, Lu Ming felt a powerful battle weapon chi crazily attacking his acupoints, causing him to feel a sharp pain. If his physical body was not strong enough and his cultivation was not profound enough, his body would have been torn apart by the battle weapon chi. However, Lu Ming had a heavenly spiritual body. His physical body was incomparably strong. Although he felt a sharp pain, he immediately suppressed it. After a while, the black dragon spear calmed down and quietly floated in his acupoints. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.